Good evening and welcome to Poker Night Live, the award-winning poker show that brings you live online poker 7 nights a week. That's right, tonight it's a Dr. Tom and Night Nurse special. We're going to be bringing you all the fun from all the poker games on the web. We're going to show you everybody's cards. It's all Texas Hold'em. It's a wonderful way to learn the game. Tonight, it's amateur night, but we do have an expert in our midst. That's me. No, it's not. It's Dr. Tom. Hello, Doctor.
Well, you're fast becoming an expert, Michelle.
On my way.
I mean, your sit-and-go record speaks for itself.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we won't talk about it because it speaks for itself.
How's your record going?
Moving
on.
Yes.
Dr. Tom will be commentating over all of the games we watch tonight. They're live games. We have put in a delay, so our players can't see their opponent's cards. We can see everybody's cards. And we'll be having a look at what they're doing wrong and what they're doing right. But we love to hear from you guys at home. So if you have any questions or queries or just anything in particular you'd like to ask either Dr. Tom or myself, then you can text them in to us. The text number is 84222. Do text the word poker and then your question. And you can also email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. That's I was about to say that's £4 for £1, but it's not, it's free. And you can check out our website, learn all about the show, www.pokernightlive.co.uk, and you can have your say up there as well. Okay, we're going to be watching multi-table tournaments, we're going to be watching sit-and-go tournaments and cash games. Tom, if you wouldn't mind showing us what we've got on offer tonight.
Okie dokie, let's go and have a look at what's in the cupboard. $2 sit and go, fantastic. Haven't seen one of these for a while. Down at the micro stakes, look, Bessie's already all in with 7 king. How did she manage it? We don't know. She got knocked out. We've got to go. Table 2 is a $10 sit and go. There it is, much more sedate. Well, I say that, there's already an extra seat there. Someone's been knocked out. A longer structure, no excuses. And Duvu looks like he's chipped up there. Deli Serre won last night's multi-table tourney, so watch out, boys and girls, on that table. 25-cent, 50-cent cash game is the order of the day on table 3. And we've got Snap It, Big Tom Fuller. I'm not a binger, fishing for chips, all sorts of regular players here. Michelle Benz is also. Oh, it's just like, it's like coming home to the family at Christmas, isn't it? Only with more gambling and less arguing. Table 4, I imagine, will be a multi-table tourney. I'm not wrong, there it is, second level of the multi-table tourney. Lovely.
Wonderful. Well, we'll be watching the final table of that multi-table tournament at the end of the night. Tonight is quite a special night, actually. For those of you out there with teenage children, it's prom night tonight, Doc. We're very lucky to have the Doctor tonight. He's missing out on his high school prom. I know he doesn't look young enough, but he had a heavy paper round, but he is. It's very nice of you to come into us tonight and not go to your prom.
It is, yeah. Normally I do the bar. Actually, this is getting a bit funny. Should we move on from this?
But it is prom night. I did the makeup for a friend of mine earlier. She looked absolutely gorgeous. So if you've got packed your children off to their prom, let us know about it and sit down and learn poker with us. Sounds like a wonderful night in. And maybe the Doc and I will have a little prom dance a bit later on in the show.
I'll put on my taffeta.
Okay, we're going to start the evening by having a look at the multi-table tournament. I didn't even have a prom, you know. I'm too old.
No, they didn't exist then. We had a disco, school disco, didn't we?
We had the high school disco.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that wasn't very good. Good old St John Payne.
St John Payne?
St John Payne.
Yeah, but St John
I'm a good girl, went to a Catholic school.
You're the only one.
Look. You remember where you went to school?
I do, yes.
Did they have school in your time?
Yes, they did, Michelle. But all we got was the Bible and a clip round the ear.
Oh. Were you that little one that went, can I have some more, sir?
Yep.
So here we are. This is poker, our multi-table tournament.
Here we are, yeah. Pocket pair versus pocket pair. Enough said, enough said. 10's no good.
Let me tell you a bit about this tournament.
Oh,
it was a $10 buy-in. So they've all paid $10 and they were all awarded about 1,500 chips. There's 110 of them. Mm-hmm. That's 14 tables. There's only 94 left. The blinds rise every 12 minutes. And the total prize pool is $1,100. And the top 10 places are paid So how does this work? There's 110 entrants, but they're all playing in the same game.
Well, each time you lose all your chips, someone loses all their chips, they get knocked out, they can't buy more, so they're gone. And that means that holes will appear in the tables. And once enough holes have appeared at the various tables for a table to be broken, it will. So basically, if there's 8 holes across all the tables, then the players from one of the tables will be sent to fill in the holes in the others. So you gradually have tables removed from the tournament. So basically, until quite near the end, you're playing at a fairly full table right down until you get to the final table.
To the last one. As enough said, that is enough said. It's got the aces.
Draw though.
But Blumfield, yep, he has got top pair there.
He's got the top pair. He could catch a 6. He could catch a 4 for a straight. He could bluff his opponent off it. Not likely. That's no good. That's a blank, as we say in poker. It doesn't change much. Now he's going to fold, Michelle, I think. Oh, he's called. He thought Nuff Seb was at it.
Yeah, 4 would have been very interesting there, because it would have given them both a straight, wouldn't it?
Ah, the ace at the bottom end.
Yeah, so
very
Blumfield
interesting.
could have got a lot of money there.
That would have been an interesting card, Michelle. But unfortunately, it's not scripted here on Poker Night Live, so we can't have aces to order.
So we're looking at the best 5-card hand. Excuse me. Best 5-card hand out of the 7 available to you by the river.
That's right. You've got 7 cards, 2 in your hand, and 5 in the middle.
Eventually 5 in the middle.
You've got all very husky and deep there.
I know. Because I'm working with you, Doc.
Sound like you're about to retch.
That was like a little schoolboy giggle. Look, half aces, flop, the nuts flush. That's only going to happen once in 118 times.
That's right, extraordinary. And that's even if you've got suited cards. And even that's not that likely. He's slow playing it for all he's worth, and he's not going to get paid, unfortunately.
It's a prime example of you could have a wonderful hand, but if your opponent doesn't have anything, you won't make any money.
That's right. Unless, of course, he's a rabid bluffer, and then you just wait for him to bluff at you.
So there's 4 rounds in each hand.
4 rounds of betting. You bet before, when you just get your cards there, before there's anything in the middle. Although these boys, they're just putting in their blinds. And then there'll be a round of betting. We'll see it in one moment. There it is. There's the flop. That's the second round of betting. Half face is first to act because he's the first clockwise from the dealer button there in the top right-hand corner. He's checked. He's chosen not to bet. And Nokizal has the option of betting, bluffing it, in fact, in this case, because he's got no hand. And that's the naughty boy who pushed me off the queens, wasn't it, Michelle? Oh, you weren't here.
Pardon?
He pushed me off a pair of queens.
Didn't.
Yeah, I laid them down. I gave him too much respect.
Were you winning?
Yeah, he had top pair. He paid his 10.
Wow.
I've been tossing and turning all night long ever since.
You haven't, have you?
No.
Other reasons?
No, I wouldn't get much sleep if I tossed and turned each time I laid down a hand wrongly. Or indeed called wrongly. I think he's going to limp in here. Look at this, 5-way pot. 6-way pot. Spencer's in.
So they've all just called the big blind. This is an option. If you want to play with your 2 cards, you have to at least pay the big blind or whatever amount is in before you. So if someone raises it to 60, if you want to play, you're going to have to pay that 60.
Yeah, don't get a flop for free in this game. Oh, Blumfield's gone a bit weird, Michelle. He's put 555 in to win about 180, and he's gambling that no one's got a 10. But he doesn't know if they've got a 10. They could have a 10. That's strictly gambling. That's gambling of the roulette sort, or the toss and a coin sort. There's no skill there. I think that was a poor play.
No, we don't like that?
Nah, thumbs down. Throw him to the lions.
Who was it that made that? Blumfield.
Blumfield.
We'll watch Blumfield like a hawk and see what he does. Okay, so here we go. Enough said. If he wants to play with these ace-2, he has to put in at least 30, because that's what Metaxas put in. So always look at the person before you. That's how much you've got to put in. At the moment, it's just a big blind. Nobody's raised. Now, what do we know about the King-Queen?
Well, it's a very interesting hand, and people have a wide variety
true.
of views on it. But some people say that it rules in the land of the unraised pot.
It reigns.
It reigns.
In the land.
I do apologise.
Of the unraised pot. Jeff, if you're going to quote Browning, you've got to get it right. Okay? King, Queen reigns. In the land of the unraised
It's
pot.
true.
And he's on the dealer button, so it's the perfect place to get Queen, Queen.
Yep.
Now, why do we say this? Why is this true?
I don't know, I've always wondered, Michelle.
Okay. Should we ring James?
Why do you think it's good on the dealer button?
Well, obviously you've got the difference between position.
What does that mean?
Nossixel here is on the dealer button, which means he gets to see what everybody else does first because he's last to act. So that gives him some information. If people raise, he knows some people out there have got a good hand. Usually people are raising with things like high pairs and good aces, like ace queen, ace jack, ace 10. Now, if somebody raises, they could easily have an ace king or an ace queen, which means his hand is very poor. Because if you both hit your king, then the ace will win it because it's the rag card and the best kicker. Now, if nobody raises, and generally that means nobody's holding an ace queen or an ace king, or indeed a high pair like a pair of kings or a pair of aces. So you can think if you hit your king, it's probably good.
Well,
unless
yeah,
someone praise me first.
Praise you or praise you?
Oh, you were about to praise me.
No,
so
I wasn't.
Do that first.
I was going to query you actually.
Oh, go on then.
What happens if someone raises in mid position with Jack 10 suited, and with your king queen you then just call them, and the flop comes down, and say there's a king, and they bet at you hard? What do you do with your king queen?
Well, if we follow James Browning's ruling here.
Okay. Oh, the ruling is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we have to be. We don't know where we are.
Yes, we don't know where we are. That's right.
We don't know if we're winning. So we can either ask the question back, say, okay, have you really got that? Which is going to cost you money. And a lot of time when someone's raised, they would have raised with something like ace king, ace queen. We can re-raise him just to make sure and ask the question. We can fold it, knowing full well that you shouldn't be in the pot anyway because there's been a raise.
So basically, your mistake was calling pre-flop.
According to Browning.
Well, every time I get anything in mid position, I'm going to raise him just in case he's got king queen, because it will make me cackle like a hyena if he lays it down.
So do that. That would be funny. That's like Mark Banning not playing the 7-8.
Speaking of which,
there it is in all its glory.
Oh yeah, he's got a straight draw, up and down there. 4 or a 9 to give him the straight, half face we're talking about. But Spencer Boy's got the flush draw, which means that 2 of half faces outs. The 9 of diamonds and the 4 of diamonds are no good. They'll make him a straight, but they'll make Spencer Boy a better hand, which is a flush.
So Spencer Boy's betting here on the hope that he'll either push everyone out and win, and if he does happen to get called, he's got the backup of being able to hit a diamond and getting his flush.
That's right, he's betting on the come.
He's got something just as good as we can see, which is his king.
Yeah, he had lots of outs, in fact.
Half face, still hoping to hit his straight. Going to cost him a lot of money to see it. And
he correctly folds.
I'm surprised I'm even here, to be honest, because I vowed never to play poker again when I played yesterday.
Oh dear. Were you on... I know you weren't on last night, were you?
No, I played in 2 sit and
What
goes.
happened, Michelle? Tell the doctor.
I played in 2 sit and goes and lost both of them to really bad calls by all means.
Really?
Yeah, like one of them was, he was, you know, he had something like 3,000 chips and I had something like 1,600. And I hit trip 7s, went all in, blinds were big, and he called with the flush draw. And it wasn't even a big flush draw. And he so wasn't getting odds. And you can kind of understand, you know, people taking that risk, but I wasn't happy. And then the second tour, I went straight into another one and went out. I had ace queen, and I'd raised it right up, and I hit my ace and my queen, and someone had called my raise, which is a really huge raise, with ace 2, and got chip 2s. And obviously which turned into a full house because he had the ace as well, and beat me. So then I thought, right, I'm not going to play any more tournaments, I'm going to play in the cash game. So I went to a cash game, right, $25 buy-in, and on my 4th hand, I limped in with 6-7 and hit and flopped a full house, 6s full of 7s. The other guy's only sitting there with a pair of 7s.
Oh, that's a bit rude.
Took my whole stack on my 4th hand, and
I
actually cried. No, I will admit this live on air because I am not afraid. I actually cried. I actually vowed that I was going to quit my job and never play the game again.
That's a bit rude.
That was horrible.
The other 2 bad beat stories were a bit lame, Michelle, but that is a cracker.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. No.
How unfortunate. And to happen just after I was always so tilty from going out for 2 tournaments, which I should have won in.
How you were laughing when
both of them.
You got the call with your full house.
And like those tears of laughter soon turned into tears of despair. I wasn't happy. But this just goes to show, I can't, that £25 buy-in I lost, I can't even worry about that because there was no way I was ever getting away from that full house.
Exactly. Spoken like a true poker philosopher. Cowboys versus aces. Now, does this cheer you up, Michelle? Someone's going to lose a load of money.
I hope it's not McTavish, because I'm in love with somebody called Jamie McTavish. She's actually really Jamie Fraser from a book called Outlander.
Well, I thought you were in love with Patrick Antonius, the noted poker player.
Yes, him too.
Ah.
Share and share alike. One of them is a real, so that narrows it down.
I think the chances of you bagging either are about equal.
So, enough said. Can you get away from this?
No, of course you can't.
There you go. So we can see he's outdone, but he didn't do anything wrong, even though he lost.
No, because obviously there he was behind, but more often than not, in that situation, he'll be ahead. Someone will be playing with ace-king and playing it very strongly, or pair of queens.
This is actually a very important point to learn in poker, though, isn't it? Sometimes you will lose because you made even though you made the right decision.
Exactly. Given the information you had available to you, you don't know what your opponent's got. All you know is what signals you're getting. And if your opponent would make the same move with a whole load of cards that are worse than your kings, that's all the information you've got. So in the long run, you win. On that occasion, it would have been a psychic fold there. To be honest, if I'd seen enough said fold kings versus the aces, I'd say, well, unless these guys have got a lot of history, Nuff said made a mistake by correctly folding there, because he'll be wrong more often than right.
Yeah.
Which is a bit paradoxical, isn't it? But it's the way poker players think.
It is poker players. As Blumfield gets all excited with his king of diamonds.
But it doesn't... It's the unraised pot, Blumfeld, and you've got lots of people who act behind you. It only rules in the land of the... No, reigns in the land of the unraised pot. Anything could happen.
This is because of position. Blumfeld doesn't know what people behind him have got. Someone could be sitting there with the aces and call his all in. He doesn't know where he is. For him, it's worked out this time, maybe. Big Tom Fowler is going to be ahead if he calls. But he doesn't. So it worked out for him, but it was a very scary move, wasn't it? He could have easily been re-raised. He didn't have any information on the other players. Yeah.
I mean, he had 10 times the big blind. It's getting to an okay sort of move, but maybe in mid-position, late position. But
oops.
It's gambling again. Just like last time, it's a gamble.
Now, our experts do give you rules to help you along, but it's all about a situation in poker. There's nothing, Dr. Tom can't sit here and tell you what to do with an ace-3 suited or a pair of sevens. It's all about the particular situation, where you're sat at the table, what you know of the other players, how you're perceived at the table as a player, how many chips you've got, what the blinds are, what your opponents have. Many factors come into play when you make a poker decision, all of which we would teach you. Oh, look, see, this is like me going all in with my chip sevens and Spencer Boyd calling the all in to get his flush.
Backdoor flush?
Well, no, it wasn't, so it wasn't quite as bad.
Are you bigging up your bad beat story? Here it comes.
Now, well, yeah,
this will make you feel better, won't it?
9, and that's the same situation. Look, it's going to do the same thing. Ha-ha. Yeah, so let's have a look at some of what these decisions these guys are making and see what Dr. Tom thinks. 8-3 fold.
Yep.
What about your A7 there?
Fold or raise, don't call. Raise if you think the big blind will put down his blind and no one will call in behind you.
Why not just call?
Because it's a rubbish hand and you don't want to take a flop with it.
And even if you do hit your ace, you're not so sure someone's out there with the better ace.
Exactly. Now look at this, Michelle. Ace-king has called. I ask you, king-queen in late position, he thinks he's ruling. I mean, how wrong would he be there?
That's because Mr. Half-Ace is either being a bit cheesy, slow playing his ace-king, which is a bit foolish to do, I think, or he's just not happy with ace-king generally as a hand, and he's just limping to see if he catches something.
I don't know his motives, but it does show you that king-queen, the king-queen rule has got to be a bit wrong sometimes.
All general rules are going to be wrong sometimes.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah.
What about that law that says you can't murder people?
Well, you know.
We've had a bit of reseating on here. That's why we've moved.
Okay, well this is because the tables are being condensed as people are being knocked out. So we've been moved a bit. Got Hoik Balls, Chelsea, Pauser, Baskerville, Kiwini, Ramchip and Laudical. So your first decision is, do I play with these cards? Now things like middle pairs, lots of discussion about these. Mm-hmm. Different ways to play them, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a pair of eights is, you can call it or you can raise it. You don't want to raise it if you think that you've got a tricky player behind you who's going to take advantage of you on the flop. You don't want to raise it if you've got a super aggressive guy behind you who's going to raise you pre-flop, because you want to see the flop cheaply with that, or take the blinds. You want to see a flop cheaply, or you want to see no flop because you've won the blinds.
Because that can happen if you don't make it expensive. Somebody with a rag king can come in, hit the king, and take your money.
Yeah.
Now, if Basketball had raised pre-flop, king 5 would have folded, and Basketball would have taken the blinds. But if someone with an ace king out there was to act behind him and he raised, they'd either re-raise him or call, have him beat anyway. But then at least you know where you are a bit more. If someone's called your raise with a pair of eights, you can think, okay, there's kings and queens out there, he may well have them. Ooh, is Baskerville?
Yeah, he put an inspired bluff on the river. What a player.
Wow, well done, Baskerville. Managed to get the king to put down.
Dirty dog.
Well, that's the second way to be able to win, isn't it?
Dog.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Would you like me to write your little certificate?
No, that's right, I already got my swimming certificate.
Did you do the one where you had to dive to the bottom and get the brick?
Oh, yeah, and swim in your pyjamas, which I always thought was a bit strange, because, you know, if you're a sleepwalker, I suppose it might be useful. With the key to the swimming pool.
So Basketball used the second way to win, which was to make your opponent believe you have the best hand.
Yeah.
Instead of actually having the best hand.
AQ, suited, running into AK, suited.
That's
Danger,
nasty,
danger.
Isn't it?
Very nasty. Let's have a look. Let's see what Hoik Balls does here. He might just flat call. Now he's narrowed the fields. And
what do you do as the ace queen here?
yeah, I mean, I might well fold it. Depends what I know about my opponent. If I think he's a loosey-goosey, I'll go all in. If I think he's a tight player, I'll fold. But I won't just call. I won't let him keep his position on me.
Oh, and he's called it. It's unfortunate it's a Noxy call. It seems a bit of a maniac call from Hoik Balls.
Yeah, well, he's got experience in knocky sale, maybe. I mean, I'm inclined to call him now.
Yeah.
More than I used to be, because of the Queen's debacle.
Not that you hold a grudge or anything.
No, I don't hold a grudge. No, I mean, good luck to him, but obviously it's going to affect my behaviour. I'll probably, you know, punch him if I see him, that sort of thing.
Just give him a little headbutt. Not that we advocate headbutting or punching your opponents if they outdraw you or beat you. Not good poker etiquette.
No, just chuck a glass of something over them.
Well, about the best hand out there is ace 10. Is it going to be raised? You'd rather raise with it than call with it. See if he takes it down. And then we're going to leave our multi-table tournament and head over to a cash game. But this multi-table tournament is going to be played all throughout the night, and as it gets smaller and smaller and people are knocked out, we will catch up with the last 8 and watch that final table. Big Tom Fooler, is that
Look,
you?
There's a flop and no one's got any cards.
Oh yeah! Wow!
It's the Mary Celeste
Quick,
flop.
look, this is something you'll never see again.
No.
A flop. Let's pretend we're playing. Okay, I've got a hand and I'm raising you up, Tom. What are you doing with your hand?
I'm going to re-raise you and outdraw you.
I've got all in.
Well, I've got a huge gun, and I'm taking the money.
No, I've got a pair of kings. So I win, and
All
I
right.
take your money.
Do we have to talk about kings?
Because you had a king-queen, you see.
Still sore
Because
about
I'd
the
slow
kings.
played my kings, and you thought it was an unraised pot and called me. And I had you beat. Right, okay, if you have any questions you'd like for Dr. Tom or I, sorry, by the way, we will get that cash game back, then you can text them into us. Here's the way you can text us, because we just have our own little conversation here. Text the word poker and your question to 84222. And you can also email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And we have an email here from Marie. Good evening to you, Marie. She says, I'm playing my first game of live poker tonight. We're putting on our own poker competition, and I'd like any tips in how we can do the blinds. Any help would be appreciated. Well, hello, Marie, first of all. Hope you're having a nice evening. This is a big question we get all the time, because it is very tricky to put on your own poker tournament at home, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think basically it depends how fast you play. It's difficult for me to say what the correct structure will be. Appoint yourself tournament director, Marie, and make sure that everyone understands that you have complete control over the proceedings and can put the blinds up as you choose. And then I would give them basically something like, let's say 1,000 chips to start off with, blinds 25, 50, and then increase the blinds maybe every 15 minutes.
And double them.
And the blinds go up, well, they double to start off with, so they go 25, 50, 50, 100, 100, 200, then maybe 200, 400, 300, 600. It's up to you. As long as they don't go up incredibly brutally, you'll be fine. But if you're getting bored with it, then...
You can always raise it more quickly, can't you? If you're running out of time or it seems to be going off a long time, just have quicker blinds, make them bigger.
That's right. I mean, just play it by ear. There's no reason why you can't change the structure halfway through. After all, it's not the World Series. And get lots of munchies.
Yes, and let us know how you get on. We'd love to hear from you. Right, we are going to head back to our cash game, which we've now got. Let's have a look. Here we are. We've got our little Ken Snappet at the top left. We've got Duff. We've got Big Tom Fooler, Lurch, Benzers, Abersack, Fishing for Chips, and I'm Not a Minger.
That's true. Pair versus pair. Lurch gets call. Lurch gets call, and that's a great move from him because he was representing a bluff there. And Abersack says, I don't believe you got the king, but unfortunately he had the tens, a high pair. So good play.
And how does this cash game differ from our tournament?
It's blue.
Rather than being green?
Yep.
Thanks.
Well, you can sit down with as much as you like, between $5 and $50, and you can play for as long as you like. And when you leave, you just leave with your chips and you cash them in, either at the cash desk. If it's a real card room, this one isn't. You can tell because there's no yucca plants.
So you just click on the leave button.
Yeah.
Ask you if you actually do want to leave, and you click on yes, and you take your chips with you.
Exactly. You can't do that in a tourney. Tourney, you've got to stay there for the duration until you've won it or you've been knocked out. So it does affect the play, probably more than it should do. But one of the characteristic features of a cash game is people have got lots of chips generally relative to the blinds. Look at this, most of these players have got more than 100 big blinds. So they don't have to make moves if they don't want to. They can sit and wait for a decent hand. Not necessarily the best way to play, not necessarily even a winning way to play, but it is an option, which it isn't in a tournament.
So those blinds do not go up. Let's have a look at how people are playing this particular cash game. Blinds are on Abersack and Fishing for Chips. Now there's maximums and minimums that you can sit down with. $5 being the minimum, 10 times the big blind, and 100 times the big blind being the maximum, which is $50. So bear in mind, Lurch could only have sat down with $50 maximum. He's up to 94, so that means he's at least $44 profit if he sat down with 50, more if he sat down with less.
Yeah, it looks like probably most of these people sat down with 50. I don't think we've got any people here who look like they've sat down with the min. Which is something we sometimes saw on the higher stakes cash games, but not here.
Looks like Snappet's only just sat down, or he's rebought.
I think he's topped up, maybe. Big Tom, yeah, showing good aggressive play there. Jack Queen, not a great hand, but basically you're hoping your opponents will fold. If they don't fold, then at least you've made a deceptive play because it looks like you've got a pair or an ace probably. So that means that you might be able to represent the ace when it comes down and get them to fold on the flop, or it does mean that if you catch a surprise hand like Jack Queen and they've got something like Ace Queen and there's a queen, obviously there's a queen on the board, you've got two pair, they will probably give you all their chips. So you need to mix it up, and it's good to steal with these sorts of hands. Hands that have got some possibility of catching a flop, but where you don't really want to call. And that's true in tournaments and in cash games.
And your objective is to sit there and try and work out where you are. When that flop comes down, you've got your full hands, you've got 5 cards. Where are you compared to your opponents? Are you beating them or are you not beating them? Working this out is very difficult, and you will get it wrong occasionally. Well, a lot when you first start. And the way you can work out what they have? Betting is our tool of the internet, isn't it?
That's right, yeah, what they're betting, how much, what position they're in. If in doubt, assume that they're playing poker a bit like the way you play poker, and that's where you start trying to work out what their hand is from what they're doing.
It is difficult though when people start trying to fool you and make you believe they have something else.
Yeah, it is, and of course people will do that, but just remember, take heart from the fact that every time someone does something weird to fool you, they are basically going against the run of the cards. So if you bet on a gut shot straight draw, fine, it's very deceptive, people don't normally do that, but of course they're only going to make that one time in 11 or 12 when the next card comes down. So basically, to be deceptive in poker always hurts you. So people generally, if they are being very deceptive, are quite easy to beat. You just sit there and you wait for good cards. Ooh.
Ace, king, king, jack.
Well, Snapper's going to have to call in and have a look at the flop, but he'll be looking at his king-jack with great caution now. He's looking to make 2-pair or a straight draw, and he's made neither.
He could push Joff off here.
Yeah, he might elect to bluff, because it looks like Joff had a pair or perhaps ace-king. Well, now he's got a straight draw.
So, the odds of hitting that straight draw are about 5 to 1, aren't they?
He's called it, and I'm not surprised he played. Now, are we going to see a blinding raise here or a modest fold? Good fold, yeah. Call was the worst option. To catch up on the next card, yeah, about 4 to 1, yeah. So
is there times...
Oh, that's a flush, yeah, 5 to 1. Carry on.
Is there times when you can use this... Because it's really difficult. I find it difficult in tournaments when I have things like gut shot draws or even up and down straight draws, because only 1 in 5 times you're going to, or 1 in 6 times you're going to hit it. So many times I'm inclined not to make the call, even if I'm just getting odds to. Just because I know that the majority of the time I will miss. And it's really difficult because you should be playing the odds, shouldn't you? If it's giving you odds to call, you should call.
Definitely.
It's the correct move. But sometimes when it's in that particular hand, it's a lot of money or a lot of your chips. Sometimes it's difficult to make those calls.
Well, you're in the minority, Michelle, because lots of people will make the calls on a draw even when they're not getting odds, because they can't bear the thought of the draw coming and them not being around there to collect. But yeah, I think you should be calling.
So if you're getting odds to hit your flush or your draw or whatever hand you're hoping to get, if you're getting odds, the correct move is to call for them, however much it's calling you on that particular time. And this is because it's a long-run game, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you can also raise. What we're saying is you should play the hand if you're getting odds to make it. You can raise as well, because then your opponent might fold. And the combined profit you make from when he folds and gives you the pot there and then, and that which you make when he calls and you catch your card to win a bigger pot, that can mean that your long-term profit from raising with a draw can be higher than your long-term profit for just calling for it when you're getting the odds. But you should certainly play the hand when you're getting odds.
There you go. What about these glow connectors? Hands to be maybe limping with?
Yeah, you can limp with those hands as long as 2 conditions are satisfied. Basically, that there are people behind who aren't automatically going to raise you. You don't just love to raise people who call, because if they do, you have to throw it away. And the second reason to call them is if there are people at the table who will pay you if you make your hand. So the sort of players we're talking about are loose, passive players. Players who don't tend to bet, they tend to call, but they do play lots of pots and they carry on to the river. And if you've got loose, passive players like that behind you, then connecting cards like that become fantastic cards. Because you know where you are, you're always behind until you've caught, and they'll let you draw cheaply, and then you catch, and then they pay you. It's fantastic. But unfortunately, there aren't that many loose, passive players around these days. There were more in the past, but people are getting the hang of poker from watching poker on TV and understand that poker should be aggressive. And we talk about it every night. So the loose passive player is an endangered species. There's that Queen King again, and it rules on the land of the unraised pot, but not if King 10 raises it up. Nope. Now let's see what Lurch does. It's good for 2 for me, and it's good for Lurch, and that should take it down. Okay. And in danger here, Ace-7 in danger of running into AK. Now, raise or call, both are fine here.
Yeah. Oh, and it's been called by the A7.
Ooh, that's a rather unfortunate fault for fishing for chips. And he's going to have to fold it. You can't call here, because that could easily be a number of hands, most of which are pocket pairs. Not that likely to be Ace-Queen, a hand which Ace-King is beaten.
Could easily be something like jacks, like you say. He'd be betting like that with a pair of jacks.
That's right, yeah, certainly. And in fact, even with much smaller pairs, he might just say, well, I think you've got Ace-King, and I'm my head with a pocket pair. Good folds,
So you could see the doc's reasoning there, and this is what you should be going on in your head. You've got to think, well, what did he do pre-flop? He raised, so he's obviously got a hand to raise with. So it's something like an ace-king or an ace-queen like I've got, in which case I've got him covered. But it could also easily be something like jacks or queens, in which case I'm well beat. Therefore, I can't call this raise. And because he re-raised so much, you have to say to yourself, well, obviously he's got a big hand. It's probably something like jacks or queens. So I can't play. Now, it doesn't matter what we can see he's actually got, because you can't see the cards when you're playing in a game, so it's all about the betting.
Exactly, yeah, and I like the way you phrased it in terms of what the size of his raise meant. We see this quite a lot on Poker Night Live, two players with the same hand, and more often than not, they don't split it, one player bets the other one out, and that's what we're going to see here, I think. Power of aggression.
And we do advocate aggression, don't we?
We do.
You don't know where you are. If you don't know where you are, ask a question. You do that with a bet. I'm telling you I've got something. If you've really got something, you'll call me or you'll raise me. Now, it can cost sometimes when somebody is sitting there with a hand. That's part and parcel of the game of poker.
And on that note, I think Big Tom Folder has to do what you're saying, Michelle, which is find out where he is. It's a slightly iffy flop for Big Tom, because someone could have a 9. He put in a rather strange bet, 51 cents there.
It is hard, though, isn't it? When you hit a flop like that, when you've got a terrible kicker, but you've got the one card that makes it 2 pair. It is hard to bet. Now, he's bet once and been called. He's bet again, and Lurch has gone.
And Big Tom Folder, I think probably... If Lurch had played again there, Big Tom would have lost interest in betting that pot. But he was pleased to see Lurch fold. We're going to see I'm Not a Minger put in a little call here. Personally, I'll probably throw it away against an under-the-gun raise. If it's suited, I might play it. Good aggression here.
He's decided if I'm going to play it, I'm going to play it big and try and take that money, although it does seem weird because somebody's raising under the gun. Generally, that would be with a decent hand, wouldn't it?
That's right. I'm Not a Minger may have played Benzers enough time to know that a minimum bet under the gun there, first to act, is something he will lay down if he's raised.
Ace-2 not being a very good hand.
No.
And he knew he was going to be first to act, so anybody could do anything behind him, and he did get caught out because, of course, I'm Not a Minger did.
Fold, fold, folds. And I'm Not a Minger takes it.
Well, you can see John Boy Rebel has put in 50, that's because he's just joined. So he's forced to put in that big blind, isn't he, if he wants to play? Unless
he's prepared to wait for the big blind to come round to him naturally. He's impatient to play, he's just checked it, and I don't think any of these players will be desperate to push him off that. No, there's a Fishing for Chips checks. I think I'm Not a Minger will. Look at that. Well, Fishing for Chips makes the up and down draw, but it's a bit iffy, because if he makes it with a 10, anyone with a jack is going to have a better straight. And meanwhile, I'm Not a Minger's made a pair. But John Boy, he's an aggressive player, and he could take this with a big bet. Doesn't have much in the way of outs. And normally the guy who's not in the blind here can represent the ace, but John Boy can't because he put his bet in before he'd got his cards there.
I'm Not a Minger doing the minimum bet, hoping to get paid off, and it didn't work. Okay, we do remember if you have any questions for us, you can text us. Text number is 84222. Text the word poker first, then your question. 4 for £1.
Well, that's amazing. How much is that in francs?
I don't know. Not French. You can also email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And it's the euro, isn't it? I can say, je m'appelle Michel. J'habite anglais. Je voudrais un fromage et jambon sandwich, s'il vous plaît.
Have you?
I was asking for a sandwich.
Oh, I thought you were offering me one.
Of the cheese and ham variety.
I'll just nip out.
Thank you.
If you ask for a cheese and jam sandwich in France, they think you're weird.
Well, why would you then?
Why would you? Well, sometimes you fancy a cheese and jam sandwich, don't you?
No, never.
You've never had a cheese and jam sandwich? You've never lived.
Sounds disgusting.
Oh, it's fantastic. Good comfort food when you've been outdrawn.
Look at John Boy Revel. What a bet. Under the gun with 8-4 suited. I think he's trying to look a bit like a hero on telly.
Well, he's an aggressive player. This might work.
So this is a bluff for John Boy Revel.
Yes.
To win the blinds.
Very nice, yeah. Since you got to pay them, you might as well win them first.
Kings have made a standard liver raise there. 3 times the big blind. John Boy Revel might get excited that he's got suited cards which could turn into a flush or a straight. So he's called. Now he is drawing for his flush here. Is he getting odds? Because this is where you need to work out if you're getting odds to call, and it can get very confusing sometimes if you don't have a calculator.
To make his flush? Oh, he's made it.
He's got it, but he doesn't know if he's got the best flush.
Or indeed whether a flush will win. Once the board is paired, a full house is possible. But he's determined to get some value out of it, and he's off to a storming start.
Well done. He's only just sat down, he's on profit. Raise here for the nines, find out where you are pre-flop.
Well, that's the way he does it. I don't mind a limp, and then you find out where you are on the flop, whatever happens, because you either catch a 9 or you don't. It's true that 9s are big enough that there's a reasonable chance that you will, well, not a reasonable chance, but a slim chance that you'll get 3 undercards, and then you really want to have bet before the flop to narrow the field. If you've got one opponent, then you can't have all the overcards that may come on the turn, but you think you're ahead on the flop at least. Look, it rules, even in the raised pot. Both got straight draws, and both catch a king instead.
That's going to get paid.
I think it will, yeah. Very important part of poker is knowing how to get paid when you've made your hand, knowing how much to bet to get a call.
So how do you work that out?
You can't, it's an art. You just get good at it. But like all things in poker, you play the man, not the cards. So if your opponent is a bit of a non-believer, a bit of a skeptic, always thinks you're bluffing, then ramp up the bet a bit on the river.
So it's called a value bet, isn't it, when you make a bet? But it's when you know you're ahead or you're damn sure you're ahead, you're putting in a bet that you think your opponent will pay you. Obviously, some of you are sitting home saying, well, it's all well and good you keep saying, if you think they'll pay you, put in this bet, and if you think they're this. I have no idea how to work out what these people have. Because I remember being like that when I first started, thinking, how am I supposed to work out what he's got? How am I supposed to know how much he's going to pay me off? How am I supposed to know these things? Doc, we need your help.
All right, it's a good question. It's asked in good faith, so I'll see what I can do to answer it. Generally, if you put in say there's $20 in the pot, if you put in 2, virtually everyone will pay you, because the damned if, unless they've completely missed their hand. If they've got something like a busted flush, they're not going to call even 2, because they know that they're probably losing if you're bluffing. So if you get money out of them, you will get out of them for a bet of something like 2 into a pot of 20. But the thing is that although you always get paid then, or nearly always get paid, you probably make less money than if you put in a bigger bet that opponents sometimes fold to, but call against often enough to make you more money. Your standard sort of sucker bet on the river is something like half the pot. That's your standard sucker bet. Because look at it from the point of view of your opponent. So there's $20 in the middle, and you bet 10 on the river, knowing you're ahead. What odds are they getting to call? The answer is 3 to 1. They're being asked to put in $10 to win 30 now. They're going to say to themselves, well, he may have a hand, but he may be bluffing. Now, is it 3 to 1 against a bluff? No, I reckon he's more likely to be bluffing than that. I'm going to keep him honest. And so perhaps if he's a tight player, put in a bit less than that. If he's a bit of a loose player, put in a bit more. That would be my suggestion. Now, finally, there is one class of player who's the absolute non-believer and tends to think you're bluffing, and particularly thinks you're bluffing if you put in a huge bet. So if you go all in, he thinks, oh, it must be bluff because it's so big. Against that sort of player, and keep notes on him, just bet the max. Make a big move against him. Even if he folds sometimes, he'll make a fortune by overbetting the pot there. And we see people make that sort of move. It's a favourite of Johan Hirons, for example. He gets paid on it sometimes. So don't be afraid to overbet the pot. It is your privilege in no limit.
Yes, this is why it's important to take note of what your fellow chums at the table are doing. Keep those notes. If he tends to call a lot, write it down. Well, pair of sixes has made the raise to the dollar. There's been called by the ace-2 suited, who now has a gut shot straight draw, because if he gets a 3, he's got ace-2, 3, 4. So I just read that wrong. So I thought he had ace-5. He doesn't, he has ace-2.
It's an easy mistake to make.
So he's got bottom pair. The six is actually winning. He doesn't know where he is because he's worried about that jack, but the jack's the only thing he's worried about. So he's put in a bet. The other two have folded.
Ooh la la.
Which is good for him.
Fold, fold, fold. 10-9, early position. All calls it. That's a bit loose, but I can't say that I haven't been tempted myself, Michelle. But in the cold, objective light of watching the monitor, I would say that's not all that wise. However, it was Benz's earlier who we saw getting pushed off a hand when he put in the minimum raise under the gun. So it was I'm Not a Minger who done the raise. So maybe Fishing for Chips has decided, well, he might not have a huge hand, so he might give me some free cards on the flop. Let's see if I can make a monster.
A pair and a gut shot for Fishing for Chips. A gut shot also for Benz's. You could do with the queen.
Yeah, that's why it's such a bad gut shot for Fishing for Chips. And you must think about that in advance. Straight will be if you make it. If it makes someone a better straight very easily, e.g. with the ace, you don't want to play it.
Don't want to play it.
Don't want to play it.
Okay, we have an email here from Loomis. Hello, he says, hi guys, just a quick question as I'm getting into playing Omaha High-Low. As I am enjoying it, can you give me tips on good starting hands because I am just limping in with any hand? Omaha High-Low, which is a different form of Texas. We watch Texas poker. We watch Texas Hold'em poker. You play Omaha a bit, don't you, Doc?
I do, yeah. Mostly at a recreational level, to be honest, but it's a little earner. Basically, people make their money in low-stakes Omaha High-Low from players like you, Sam, moving in with any hand on playing those, because it's a big, big loser. Remember in high-low, because most pots, certainly in pot limit poker, tend to end up heads up, if you're only going one way, either going high or going low, then you're really only going to win your money back mostly. So you must play hands that have got the possibility to go both ways. For those of you who don't play high-low poker, it's a form in which the pot is split at the end of the hand, and the worst hand gets half of it and the best hand gets half of it. My tip to you, Sam, is aces are big in high-low poker because they can count for the high and the low because they work at both ends. Ace-2 is a really important combination in high-low. Most of the hands you play in it should have ace-2 in them because it's such an important hand or element for making the nut low. Ace-2-3 is even better because then if a 2 or an ace comes on the board, that doesn't spoil your low. So if you've got ace-2-3, that's usually a raising hand. Suited aces are fantastic, and the reason why is that you can draw to a flush very easily in high-low whilst drawing to your low. Take, for example, ace-2, king-king. Well, it's very nice. You've got some sort of draw for the high with the kings. You've got a draw for the low with the ace-2. But it's difficult to draw to both at the same time. If you catch a king to make trips for your high, that doesn't help you for your low. If you're drawing to a flush with a suited ace, you can have low flush cards come that make you both at the same time. So suited aces, ace-2 with a suited combination there is excellent. Finally, have a look at www.betthepot.com, which has got an excellent article on Omaha High-Low.
Lovely, and of course, if anyone else has got any information on Omaha, do text them or email them into us. Well, we are coming up to a break now. Afterwards, we'll have Beat the Presenter and enjoy the poker news. And Dr. Tom and I will return shortly after this, so we'll see you then. Good evening, welcome back to Poker Night Live. It's a Dr. Tom and Night Nurse special, sometimes known as Tom and Michelle. We prefer Dr. Tom and the Night Nurse.
That's what our parents call us.
beginning of the show was very good. We watched a bit of our multi-table tournament and we watched a cash game. But I am going to have to hand you over to the doc because I'm going to play in a tournament now. So it's nice, half hour, 45 minutes off for me.
Well, it's not,
Will
though,
you
is it?
take
Because
over?
you're battling against players for money. Bluffing, ducking, diving.
I'm going to show you how the game of poker is played. Doc,
Yep.
what are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to look at the amateurs down on the cash game while
Okay.
you're playing your pro game.
Well, let's head straight over to the cash game then.
Let's do it.
And do remember to text us in with all of your questions as well, please. 84222 on the text. And poker@pokernightlive.co.uk on the email.
So 27 runners left in the multi-table tourney, but that doesn't concern us right now because we're back on the cash game. And look at John Boy Rebel. Different cash game. That's why he's got so many chips. 51. That does explain his meteoric rise, but he's doing all right. $220 when the maximum sit-down was 100. And he, Poker Malk, Name Exists and Snap It and Loosey Goosey are the big swingers on this table. And let's see how it differs from the earlier game. Gene not coming in there with a loose call. King 7 off is a real nothing sort of hand. Not much you can do with it apart from, if you're lucky, catch an up and down straight draw, which you may or may not make, which you may end up splitting, say with a pair of 7s, or which may lose anyway. So sorry to cause fluid to rain down on your campsite, but even now, Gene not in great shape. And I wonder if he'll think he's got to persevere with it, having caught his draw. No. Wow, bluff boy. Well, that's not a bluff because he's called more or less, and it's just a loose call. That's all it is. Loosey Goosey now thinking 7s might be ahead. I've got a draw, but that's what she didn't want. She doesn't know where she is. She's out of position with respect to Poker Malk, but she does get a free card. And I wonder if that went into her calculations. She thought, well, if I call here on the flop, will I see a free card? Because if I can catch the turn card and the river card for this calling price, the odds I need are much, much shorter to call. And in fact, she was getting them, but she didn't make it. Let's see it again then. The 7's good. She didn't need the draw. But the straight there for Bluff Boy was an absolute miracle card. Lovely jubbly. Back to the game. What happened to Bluff Boy then? Was there a full house there I missed? Who can say? We've moved on here. Name exists. Queen Jack. No good. Poker Malk takes it for a very small bet, minimum bet. You've gone for a fast structure game.
That was the only one.
Oh, okay.
The others still had the next one down, had like still 7 people left.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no choice.
Of course, Lucy had a high straight from Jack. There you go, that explains it. Now it's Jack off for Gene Knott. And until proven otherwise, you have to assume your ace is good there. It's certainly better to bet it, or perhaps check raise it if that's her plan, than to let people draw to that potentially dangerous 5-6 combination down there. Someone might have 7-8. They might have something like 8-9, and then they can catch a gut shot. You don't want to charge people nothing to draw to mystery hands. Now let's see if the check raise comes in. There it is, a small one, and the odds Gene Knott has offered Loosey Goosey are quite attractive, about 4-1. And the Queen is a blank, because Gene Knott reckons Ace Queen is an unlikely holding for Lucy there. She'd have raised it up in late position before the flop, probably. And that's rather an unfortunate river card for Gene Knott. And I think Lucy will bet here, yeah, and he'll have to call. Unfortunately, just in case Lucy was making a loose move with a weak ace or possibly bluffing. Never mind, stuff happens. Ace King now. The name exists. And he's raised it up in the standard form. Lucy decides to take a flop. Has comprehensively missed name because this is a very long way away ahead here, and we'll take it down with that bet, I'm sure. All these are folding hands, apart from Snap It's, which is a raising hand. I'm not joking, it is a raising hand for Snap It because he's got a tight image. And it's a surprise if they call him and the flop comes down, makes him a hand. It's also a folding hand, in fairness. Not, in my opinion, a calling hand. Two Jack in John Boy Rebel's hands is a massive hand. Well, it is a head here. And he takes it down. Very nice indeed. Well, Queen, King, tens, Ace, Queen. Best hand is the tens here, but not by a huge amount. He's got 3 overcards against him, although the 2 queens are doubled up. And G Knot seems to have lost the plot a bit, because that's not a calling hand. Neither is Jack 4 suited in the bin. Queen King also can go against a raise and a call of the raise. Queen King looking very, very sickly indeed. You've got to think you're behind, and she's lucky. Lucy Goosey's lucky here that she's caught the king and no one's got a better one. And that's just lucky. Probably not going to get paid though, and that's further irony that she's dodged all the bullets that were out there potentially, but can't make this into a big winning hand unless G Knot has a hissy fit and chucks his chips in the middle. No, decides to save them for another day. Let's have a side bet on whether Snap It folds this or not. I think he will. Yes, he does. But ace-10 suited in the cut-off position, definitely good for a raise. And a difficult decision for the sevens, and there's nothing wrong with laying them down here. Don't feel you've got to play that hand. Nothing wrong with calling it either, but it does give you difficult decisions to make on the flop. Do you bet out if there's no ace? Do you bet out if there is an ace? You're always going to have a difficult decision with those sevens unless you catch one. Well, he has. And now, suddenly it all becomes simple. Of course, you've still got decisions. Do you slow play it or do you play it fast? But you know you're ahead. Flop top set, he's got the nuts there. He's just flat called it. He's hoping that Polar Bear maybe was bluffing and has now caught the queen, that is, rather than the flush draw. And now it might be time to spring the trap. And that's what Jack thinks. And he's given away his hand as a strong hand, but truth be told, he doesn't know whether Polar Bear is on a stone cold bluff or has got some sort of draw. And why not take the pot there and then? No guarantee that Polar Bear would have tried to bluff him on the river, which is the only reason to let him see the river cheaply. Queen 10, certainly a stealing hand, possibly, on the button, but when someone's limped in, as Gene Knot has, it's a bit trickier. I don't greatly like the limp there, because it's a dominated hand, often Queen 10. The sort of hand that Gene Knot might have limped with is exactly the sort of hand that might dominate Jack, something like Queen Jack, King Queen. So I prefer a fold or a raise on the button. And it's Lucy who's got the flush draw. And probably going to take a free card here. No, Jack's decided to deny anyone a chance. And Jack's bet here is, on this occasion, going to work. Pot size bet. Well, Loosey Goosey calls. And so does Name Exists. And Lucy, but that she knew it, is now ahead with the deuce, and of course has got the flush draw in her drawers. 5 is a blank, 2 is going to win it. Lucy Goose with a busted flush, doesn't feel she needs to bluff it. And Jack, possibly aware on the river that there was just a chance against 2 draws that the Queen was winning, and therefore he didn't need to bluff as well. Now, surely these jacks are going to punish these limpers. This is a situation you'll see a lot in Hold'em. You may think it's right to call here from the implied odds, but I really think there, with $5 in the pot and every indication that they're going to fold, I think you put in a big bet. I would probably overbet the pot there. And Lucy Goose's call there has got positive expectation. When she catches a jack, she's going to get paid off, but she'll normally miss a jack and let people come in, certainly with that number of players, and catch something. She's very fortunate that no overcards have fallen, but I think the percentage play when she's facing all those limps is to raise and take down the money that they've already invested in the pot. Here is the danger. 3 undercards with that many opponents is by no means a clear signal that you're winning, and that's a worrying card for Lucy, or it's a worrying card for us watching Lucy, because it looks like a blank. And does she call here or raise? She might be starting to think, well, why is this guy still betting? Has he got a made hand, something like 2 pair, something like 9-10? Lucy decides to find out now, but asking a question is not asking a question when your opponent gets themselves all in. That's not asking a question, because there's nothing you can do with the answer. There's no more betting to be had. She took a view. Yeah, and there is a danger with the jacks. I think if you do flat call and let that many people play the pot, you've got to say, well, I must make trips here. Making 3 undercards is not enough. And that's what can happen. The lower the pair, of course, the lower the pair in your hand, the more squidged up together, and that is a poker term, highly technical, the more squidged up together the undercards will be if you are lucky enough to catch 3 undercards, which is what you're trying to do with a pocket pair. And if they're squidged up together, it's very easy for them to make straights for people. And that's why you might be inclined to raise with jacks rather than, say, queens or kings. Well, a quick reminder before we nip off to a bit of sit-and-go hot action of the contact details for the show. We love to get your emails and texts about poker. More discursive ones are very welcome. We had one earlier from Sam concerning Omaha high-low. But whatever you want to say or ask about poker, there was the text number. Text poker to 84222 and your questions sandwiched between them, or email us poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Let's whiz over now to a sit-and-go. There's a warm-up for the one we're going to see later with Michelle. This is a $30.
Yes, I'm getting into it.
Are you?
Yep.
Getting down and dirty?
Down. And dirty, yes.
Good.
Yes, I am. I'm second at the moment.
I saw you play Ace King masterfully earlier, taking a split pot down.
Just don't tell them what I'm playing with. They'll think I'm bluffing.
Well, they saw you take it. You split the pot.
Yeah.
They'll have seen it, my love. I'm afraid. But down here, we've got Snap It, having a bit of a multi-table, fishing for chips also. We've got the Dalmatian, recently returned to our screens. Delighted to see him here. And Smooth Cut, also
I did a wonderful bluff on the first hand. You'd be very proud
really?
of me, yeah.
Was it a stone colder or did you have outs?
No, I didn't have anything.
Ooh, you naughty girl.
No. Shouldn't really talk about it, really, should I? Because I'm still playing in the game.
They know you're capable of that sort of daring commander move. 4-8, 5-6. 8 is in the lead. $80. Well, not $80. 80 tournament chips. This is a tournament. And Smooth Cut facing the odds here of a bit better than 2-1, but knows that if he calls here, he may well face another bet on the river. So it's not just this 60, it might be more on the river to find out if he's ahead. And perfectly understandably folds there. Good poker players think ahead. They don't call on the flop or the turn and then find themselves amazed to find their opponent is betting at them again. They don't call to make a bad straight at the wrong end and then suddenly realise when they're raised, when they make their straight, that their opponent can have a better one. Always think ahead. And I had a crystallising moment when I was playing a £5 tournament when I was first playing poker, and I decided to limp with Queen 4 or something against an aggressive player. And as I put the money in, I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, apart from 2 pair, there's no flop here that I'm prepared to call. And I know my opponent's going to bet at me. And, well, we all have poker educations, and that was a crystallising moment for me when I realised that I was wasting money putting money in the pot there. And I tightened up accordingly. Loosened up since, never mind. Ace-King, Ace-10, King-Jack suited. Too expensive for King-Jack suited because if you call there, all you're doing is playing the hearts. There's a grave danger that your King or your Jack is out-kicked by someone with Ace-King, Ace-Jack, and so on. So all you're doing is playing the hearts and a very implausible straight draw. And if that's what you're playing, well, it was much, much too expensive to pay for smooth cut there. He knows it, he folded correctly. Ace-King now. Flat call. I'd have some sympathy for a raise from any of these players apart from maybe smooth cut and Morrison. 8-10, I might raise a limper there. King 10 suited, I'd raise here. Snappet's of the same mind. He knows how strong that looks. You've got to have a good hand to play from the small blind, but unfortunately Eagles is rather deceptively flat called there with Ace-King, and I've got some sympathy for Snappet. Interesting though that Eagles re-raises, because he makes a deceptive play with a call, but then he kind of gives the game away by re-raising pre-flop. And it's strange that, because, well, he got the raise from Snappet, but he normally wouldn't get the raise from Snappet. And he's sort of thrown away the logic of his original call there, as opposed to raise with the Ace-King. And Snappet not going to catch his flush because he's going to have to raise all in on a semi-bluff on the river. Fantastic move. Either he's made a great read of Eagles there for Ace-King, or he has read that his opponent will lay down to a big bet, or he's on tilt. And believe me, it's not the third one. So it's either the first or the second. A great semi-bluff there. And that is the power of the semi-bluff. Look, he had the flush draw. It's possible that his king was good if it came down. He thought, I've got enough outs here that if I've misread it and my opponent calls me, then I can get back a big pot. But he was hoping he wouldn't get a call. And that's very inventive play, and I like that a lot. And we don't see that sort of play very often in these sit and goes. Of course, sometimes you're raising to trips and it's not much fun, but there you go. So Eagles, somewhat denuded and happy to play this for all his chips. That's a fine flop for him. He's got the overcards there and a flush draw if his opponent has got a miracle hand. And he's got most of his chips back. Fine and dandy for him.
I love that saying, fine and dandy.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard it before.
No?
Mm. Five-nine off. I saw one of those old movies once where the guy said to the girl, "You're a dandy bundle for a fine fellow to cuddle."
Aww.
Yeah, it's quite sweet, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, you're a sweetheart at heart.
Well, I tried it in a bar, but people just thought I was weird. Well, they thought that when I walked in. But Queen Jack is good. It's a full house for Snakey. He knows it.
She.
Ah, you believe her to be a she?
Yeah, and she lives near me, round the corner.
Really?
Yeah, I found out. Hey, Snakey. Don't know what she looks like. To see you down the Bull on a Friday night or not.
Is that where the poker players go?
No.
Ah.
It's just the local pub.
Local pub.
In town. Just don't get eye contact with anyone and you'll be fine.
Right. I think I've heard of the Bull, actually. It must be quite famous.
There's lots of them.
No, but this one I've heard of.
Have you?
Yeah.
You haven't.
No, I have. My cousin's husband used to drink that.
Right in Braintree?
Yep. Well, you got ace queen. What are you going to do? That looks like a draw. Yeah, Fishing for Chips has read it right. It does look like a draw. Draw sort of cards there. Well played. And Eagles Stone Colder is out on its ear. And Eagles has been in lots of pots, and that's good enough for Fishing for Chips to think, well, you know, if you're in this many pots, you've probably not got aces each time, have you? Now, Snap It versus Snaky. Is Snaky off to the bull for an early one? If she can get in the lock-in. Snap It, slow playing it, that's going to provoke a raise. It's very nice, it won't always work, but if someone's got ace-10 suited or better, you can expect a raise. And now I think a crying call from Snap It. Because it looks like he's suddenly become a loose player, and I like a call here. No, he's decided to take what's there. And a shame, really, because he's got a hand that's either miles ahead or miles behind, and in that situation he wants to be in the deceptive place of not having revealed his strength. But he's read it right. Snaky decides to come along for the ride. Interesting. Could be half a shandy down at the ball for her quite soon. So, Snap It in the admirable position here of having 3 times starting stack. And Sekhmet, not hanging around with Ace King. Don't think that's reverse psychology. Whew, it's worked. Crazy move from Eagles. Look at the pot odds that Sekhmet is getting. He's going to call you. How far ahead can you be with Jack Queen? Well, you can't be ahead at all. You're either against a pocket pair or better overcards. Weird call. And Eagles was just on a mission there to have his name on Dr. Tom's lips, because all we did was talk about him. He was in every pot. He's out now, though. It's the Bull Braintree, if you fancy a drink.
I was busy concentrating there. He's still talking about the local pub.
I'm getting thirsty.
It's not my local's the Cock.
Uh-huh. So it's
I
all
might pop down at a weekend.
cock and bull on a night for you.
Bit of a boogie on the old dance floor with my girly friends.
Are they girls, are they?
Yes.
Not blokes.
Blokes are a little bit girly, some of them maybe.
Ace King, yeah, Ace King suited. Why not? I think that's a perfectly reasonable raise. And it's just a big orgy of chips. Get the video camera out. And there's the Ace King. It's made the straight. Heart's going to spoil his day. Snaky's got the wrong straight. 9 to the King. Fishing for Chips has got Broadway. Top straight. 10 to the Ace. Dalmatian goes. Snaky goes. They're off to the pub. Bird flu has struck the studio. I'm going to raise here. This is good enough for a raise for sure. 80 I put in. Ah. Snap It game for the value, hoping that Morrison has got a 10 or an ace and will catch with the worst kicker, or Snap It will catch a 10 or an ace and Morrison will catch a lower card, which isn't a very likely combination of contingencies. So that one goes. Fold, 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 and then Morrison can do what he likes with the ace-7. No skin off my nose. Fishing for Chips. It's gone out for Fishing for Chips. I suppose you've got to raise really with an ace, haven't you, in the small blind when no one else has come in. That's what he reckons. That should work. Sekhmet will have to be a pretty speculative player to play with 7-2 there. Suited notwithstanding. And there you go. He's fallen victim to a player who's quite happy to bet without having called a pair on the flop. And Morrison judged it well. Possibly hoping that Sekhmet would read him for a jack, but in fact all he had to do was bet there. Now Snap It's going to raise this. Unraised pot schmott. That's definitely good for a raise. Let's have a little betty here of 60-80. We've seen Snap It slow play kings and ace-10 suited in the small blind, both of which constitute fairly superior holdings given the circumstances. But he is playing interestingly here, because that is definitely good for a raise in a now five-handed game. He's caught the flush, and how far ahead can he be? I've got a feeling that's the maximum we'll get from Smooth Cut. Unless he calls here. Oh, I like a call, and then hope that a blank comes and Smooth Cut bets thinking that Snap It was drawing to a flush. Or hoping a club comes and Snap It can bet there and hope to get a value call, make a value bet, hoping to get a call from a worse flush. I really do like Snap It giving Smooth Cut room there, because the river can give Smooth Cut a reason to come in. I don't know why Snap It decided to just push him out. What was he worried about? He had the nut flush. It was a very unclear play to me. Snap It, what was your reasoning there? Because we can all learn something. Have I missed something? Was there a pair on the board? What was going on there? I think that was a clear case for letting your opponent take a river card. Of course, he might have had a flush. If he's got a flush, then you want to get the chips into the pot there and then, in case the scare card comes, a big club. But to be honest, I think that was a strange move. Text poker and your question to 84222, or if you'll Snap It, your reasoning, or your email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
There was a pair on the board, Doc, Dalmatanac says.
Was there a pair?
Yep.
Okay. That's it.
Thanks, Dal.
Thank you, Dalmatian. And yet, I don't know.
Stupid King 10.
Stupid King 10?
Yep.
Oh, yours.
Yep.
Should you be scared of a pair when you've got a flush in Texas Hold'em? In Omaha, you should be hiding under the table. But it is one of the questions that comes around periodically. Obviously, in limit, you can't afford to be scared by that. But in no limit, pot limit, it's an interesting one. I think if you're of a nervous or cautious disposition, you might find that 10 is a reason to bet and not slow play. Interesting. Anyway, if there was a pair on the board, Snap It, then that makes more sense. So still five-handed here. We've reached the five-handed situation very early in this game. Blind's still at 20-40. And this occurrence favours those who play effectively when they're playing short-handed games relatively aggressively. Let's see if one of the shorter stacks can pull themselves out of it. And worth pointing out that when we talk about aggression, people generally assume it to mean bluffing and stealing and so on, betting rather than calling. But Snap It's bet there on the turn was non-aggressive. It was a cautious play because he was basically looking to take the pot there in its limited state with more certainty than just by slow playing it, letting his opponent take another card and possibly winning or losing a bigger pot. So slow playing is an aggressive form of poker, because what you're trying to do when you slow play is to create action, and that's what aggressive poker is. Jack 10 takes a walk. Ace 3, probably going to have to bet there, aren't you? Yeah, he does. And Queen 9, not good enough to reply with, unless you're a looser than the man in seat 7. And this could be folded round to Morrison. Fold, fold, folds, fold. And again, pretty lousy. 10 Jack is the best. And just a call there. Doesn't get the suited king coming in for 5-1. Those are the odds he was getting. Time now, really, for Sekhmet to possibly bet. Snap It doesn't look like he's got an ace with the call there. Difficult to represent it. However, if Sekhmet has missed, Snap It knows that representing something like King Queen, or heaven knows even Jack 10, can basically push his opponent out. That's what he did. Takes it down. Power of position. If Sekhmet had bet, I think Snap It would have had to have folded. Now King Queen suited how much? Blinds have gone up to 40-80. There it is, 160, same bet as before, but now it's only double the big blinds. Tempting, isn't it? But remember, all you're really playing there is the diamonds. And smooth cut makes a very disciplined fold. But we'll remember that, and may on a future occasion think about raising fishing for chips. Next time he has a pop at smooth cuts big blind. No, is this a stealing hand? No, it's another walk. Difficult there. Seckmate's only got 12, 13 big blinds, but I was going to say, he's really got a steal there. I don't mind the fold, actually. I don't mind the fold. I think I probably felt duty-bound there to put in a little steal. Probably I'd make it 2.5, 3 times the big blind. Probably 3, in fact. I don't really want action. Because that still leaves me with 7, 8 big blinds that I can work with, but not a huge amount, certainly when the button is coming around so quickly now. Only 5 players left. There's something to be said for waiting to make one big move. 4s, yeah, I can fold them here. And the trouble is now that smooth cut is pot committed there. Effectively, he's bet all his chips on that because he can't fold to a raise. And I'd have let the 4s go. I can't call with them. I'm not getting the implied odds because I don't have enough chips to play with if I do catch my 4, so I'd just fold them. Pocket pairs in sit and goes are very, very sensitive to your stack size around this sort of aggressive stage. They can be an all-in, they can be a fold, they can rarely be a call. And that's because you're not getting the implied odds, because you don't have enough chips to get paid big time when you make it. And it's worth thinking in advance, what size pair am I prepared to put all my chips in with at this particular stage? Because otherwise you may give a real telltale little momentary dwell, or you may decide you can't play your pocket pair because you've just thought too long about it. So wherever you are, say you've got 7 big blinds, say to yourself now, I've got 7 big blinds, is 8 big enough for an all-in with 5 players? Personally for me it is. Say you've got deuces. Personally for me it isn't, but that's up to you. But decide in advance so that when you act on the flop, when it comes down, or pre-flop rather, you can move in and it's in and you look strong. You want to look strong at this stage on the sit and go because mostly you want your opponents to fold. Interesting. Yeah, funny sort of stack size for queens. Obviously smooth cut wants to play them. And puts in the same size bet as before, which actually wasn't a bad idea because his opponents might say, well, I've seen that exact bet size going twice. Probably not been aces both times. Maybe I'll call you this time. Morrison gets a walk. Fold, fold, fold. Surely it's going to be a walk for Seckmate. Yes, it is. Ground Skinner, he takes it. Blinds 80-160, and it really now hurts smooth cut. This one he'll have to fold. He'll probably let his small blind go unless he gets a good hand, some clear good hand like a good ace, or probably not just paint. I mean, I could fold Queen 10 and the small blind against a raise very happily. I could fold a pocket pair, 7s or below, well, 6s or below. But then having let my small blind go, I'm probably going to make a move on the button. Now he's got a call, which is lovely. That's what he wants to see. Although it does now, unfortunately, give a middle pair, and I think he's going to do all his money here. He must bet here. And he's tried, I can see the logic here, he's just trying to find out where he is. And on this occasion, it's the best bet he could have made, because I think he'll prompt a response, and he can fold. But there is a danger with that bet that you're inviting your opponent to push you off it. If your opponent's got a draw, I think he's right to bet at you when you make that bet, because it does look like you're trying to find if you can get away from it. And of course, if your opponent's got a draw, he'd be right to bet there. Smooth cut can't. And he's out. So we're at the bubble. No more bubble bubble. This is a real bubble. And Morrison here might well go all in. I mean, can you fold if someone comes over the top? I guess you can, in fact. The trouble is sometimes you'll be folding against a pocket pair. Yeah. Yeah, they look like an automatic all-in for me in a four-handed when I've got 7 big blinds, king, queen, but yeah, maybe that's the play you can make. I still prefer an all-in, I think, though, because you're encouraging the big blind to come in on nice odds. Certainly when he's chipped up, as that particular big blind was. Well, I was talking about deciding in advance how good your pair was, and for Snap It, when there's a big blind with plenty of chips, 3s is not good enough. He folds, there's a walk. Sekhmet's had quite a few walks here. And eyes now on Morrison to get bubbled. This is a reasonable size sit and go here, $30 sit and go, $240 in prize money, so 120 to win to the winner, but 48 to third place. And that's what they're currently contesting. That takes it. And those blinds are going to go up quite soon. And in fact, if Morrison is counting, which he should be, he knows that if the blinds double while he's in the blinds, that is a real problem because they'll take a big whack out of his stack. And he's decided to take preemptive action. And I think he's quite right to do that. And I'm going to attack Morrison here. King 9's good enough. Just. And that's an all-in. Out of position. You want to take the pot here, and right now your opponent's almost certainly got an overcard. I think that's slightly unwise because you're encouraging him to think that he might be able to push you off it. You don't want him to raise you because you're going to have to call. And now you take it to a showdown. Fair enough, though. Worked right there. And Michelle sighing deeply. She's reading a romantic novel when she should be playing poker. So Morrison got himself out of it, and Snap It and fishing for chips. You're going to have to fold. Well, at least you get to find out what they had, unlike most poker games.
Fish.
Who's the fish?
Fish.
What, the guy who won the pot?
Yeah.
Blinds now double, 163.20. That's huge. 480 in the pot. 8-9 suited is, yeah. Well, see, it is a bubble, I suppose. I could probably let it go. I might get a bit frisky with it if there were 5 of us or 3 of us. And again, all in is the absolutely only sensible move there. Too strong for a fold. There's no raise you can find where you can get away from it.
That's so unfair.
Do I take it you're out?
Yeah, but this fish, what are you calling for with a 7-8?
What did you have, Michelle?
Queen 5, suited. I was desperate.
It's about 44%.
Hit the 8. That's not fair, is it?
Jack King got the call, and Sekhmet seems to have just made a bubble play there, looking to push out Morrison, but that's never sensible, because everyone else gets the benefit. You're the guy with the risk, but Snap It and Fishing for Chips get as much benefit, so let them make a curious call. And Snap It decides enough is enough, time to move. Yeah, you don't want to be called in there, Morrison. That's a raising hand. Maybe it was just a dwell up to discourage Snap It from playing at him again. And if you're in a tournament, certainly in a live tournament, but generally where someone seems to be a cautious player, doesn't bet too much in this particular bit of the tournament, then there's probably a reason for it. They probably don't greatly like betting. So if you're on the big blinds, yeah, do a little dwell up. You may have no intention of calling, but do a little dwell up and encourage your opponent to do what you want them to do, which is not to bet at you. Against an aggressive player, well, their natural aggressive tendencies will always overcome any sorts of moves you try to pull like that. But against a player who wants to be persuaded that they shouldn't bet, because they don't want to really, then do a little moody dwell up like that.
See, I can't win anything at the moment.
Ah, well.
What do you do then, Doc? Come on, give us some advice when you're not winning anything.
Well, don't enter a beauty contest.
I'm sure I could beat you in the beauty contest.
Well, that wasn't...
Especially if it's a woman one.
That wasn't the point I was mooting. But, well, send in your emails, you know. Let's have our own impromptu beauty contest.
What do you do when you don't win anything? For ages, for like a week, and everything, you're losing everything. What do you do?
You view it as character... oh, Snapper's going to get knocked out. You view it as character building.
I just don't like to lose, I like to win.
Well, we all like to win, Michelle, but unfortunately...
If you're a bit of a competitive freak, like I am, then don't play poker.
Well, yeah, but lots of poker players are, but they can cope with the... Snapper's been bubbled, unlucky.
Oh, well, stop it.
They can cope with it. Deal with it, baby.
Deal with it, baby.
Blinds 326.40. Well, at least you weren't bubbled, eh?
That's true.
Morrison now is steaming ahead. He's got the hands when he wants them. He's now got a terrific tournament situation here with a big stack and two opponents with similar sized small stacks each, hoping the other one will get pushed out. But to be honest, with the blinds this big, when Sekhmet gets the big blind next go, he'll be hard pushed to fold. And he knows that, so he thinks I might as well move now with 10 jack. And he'll be amazed and delighted at the fold there. And Fishing for Chips now knows that he's got to stick it in, not this hand, the next one. Nah, what's the
I was just
point?
playing
You're going to
Fishing
get
for
called Fishing for Chips. That's crazy. You're going to get called. It's just possible if you let that one go, then you'll pick up a better hand in the next hand. And he's got lucky. He's caught his side card there. You don't expect it to be quite as bad as it was, dominated against suited cards, but still, 7-3, could have let it go. And that's a clear raise. Chips. It's difficult here, because if he folds, he's going to be in the small blind next go. I got some sympathy with a call there, to be honest. But pretty horrible hand he had. However, cunning logic may be that by folding both blinds, he does leave Sekhmet in the big blind and duty bound to play this. And if that was his logic, it was fine logic. And what he doesn't want to see is Morrison fold. Which is what Morrison does. Incredibly irritating for Fishing for Chips. Oh, well, he's got a hand. Shame he's probably going to split it, but they do carve up Sekhmet's small blind between them. And Fishing for Chips with a small advantage here because his suited cards are live. Two clubs were gone in Sekhmet's hand. And there it is, proof of the pudding. Hearts possibly coming in. 4-1 now, no joy. Both of them make the same hand, which is what they started off with. But again, Fishing for Chips may be looking to fold this one to leave Sekhmet in the big blind next go. Or go all in. Why not? I think he's perfectly justified in doing that. He's got a king, and we saw what happened last time. Sekhmet wasn't attacked in the big blind, and even if he had been, he might have won. So Fishing for Chips played, I think, correctly there with a king in his hand. That's good enough now to attack the big blind himself. Great stuff. He's making a real comeback here. Morrison, what do you do with ace-5? I think you can fold it. It looks very strong. Yeah, I think you can fold it there. He is ahead, but don't forget you guarantee yourself second.
Cool, if he won it, he would win.
Oh, Sekhmet is the one who's actually won the pot, and Fishing for Chips is gutted there. He wasn't looking for a call from the big stack. He got one, and he's been knocked out himself in third place. How annoying for him. All he needed there, at least, was for Sekhmet to come to get knocked out, and then at least Fishing for Chips would have got second place, even if he'd been knocked out himself.
Well, now Sekhmet goes into the lead.
Yeah, amazing how quickly it can turn. Look at the blinds, huge.
Yes, it is amazing how quickly it can turn.
It never ceases to amaze me, Michelle. It's extraordinary.
It is.
I don't think we can point this out too many times on Poker Night Live, how much it can change.
Well, it's evened out a bit. Those blinds are huge now, though. Absolutely massive.
Stick it in and fold. Morrison going to be looking here to bet with a wide range of hands. Yeah, probably leaving that one because there's just a tiny bit of fold equity. Yes, and that's exactly what Morrison was counting on, the possibility that Sekhmet would fold. And likewise, it goes all in. King 9 suited, big hand here. 2 largest cards, that's a big hand in heads up poker with the blinds are this high. Looks like it's going to be all over. We think it's all over. It is now. There you go.
Wow, excellent.
Wow, excellent. Top banana, tip top.
Fish, fish. Oh, sorry, I'm just writing down a list. I'm adding into my list of people I've got to get back at.
There's nothing like being a gracious loser. And you're nothing like being a gracious loser.
Okay, no offence, fish, fish.
Well played, fish.
Beat me with the banning. Fair enough. Right, Dirty Papa says, dear guys, you make a big raise pre-flop with Queen Queen, you get a call and an overcard comes on the flop. What do you do? What do you do? Don't sound very happy. I wonder what happened. Can you tell us what happened, please? Can you email back and tell us what happened? What do you do?
That is a tricky one. That really is a tricky one. You've got to find out where you are. So basically, if you don't mind, if you're prepared to fold to a raise, fine, bet, get raised, and off it goes. Remember that your opponent is potentially as scared of you as you are of it. It's like, you know, when you face an elephant in the wild. It's a bit like facing an elephant in the wild, but probably not quite as similar as perhaps I suggested there. But remember, you're looking for signs of caution from your opponent. If your opponent isn't happy, then your queens are almost certainly good. Yeah? Unless he's playing king-queen, of course, and there's a king there. But then you never know. Probably won't have raised pre-flop with a king-queen. So I think you're good there. Basically, the way you should view it is you're good for another bet. You can't afford just to let it go. So if your opponent bets at you, think about a raise, think about a call, and then if he's still showing strength, when you've shown strength there, then I think you've got to let it go. Sometimes you'll get pushed off it. In fact, this situation will happen quite often in poker, and that is the danger with queens. With kings, of course, it's much, much better, because when the ace comes down, first of all, it's much less likely there's going to be an overcard, because there's only one overcard, and furthermore, people are more likely to play with aces than kings, so it's more likely they've got it than when you've got the queens and you've got the king. So I'm sorry I can't be more help there, Dirty Papa. It really is a case of finding out where you are.
Thank you, Dirty Papa. We've got an email here from Adrian. Good evening to you, Adrian. He said, I've only just started playing poker for money after playing for a few weeks successfully with Play Money. But when I sat down at the table, I found I was unable to go all in. I'm assuming I sat down in the wrong game, but didn't understand what was going on. I found that every time I wanted to go all in, I just ended up betting part of my stack. Tell me what happened.
I know what's happened here. You've sat down, you've done the dreaded no-limit players mistake. You've sat down in a limit game, Adrian. We've all done it. Hopefully it was a cash game, because if it's a tournament, you're stuck in it. Yeah, you were playing the dreaded limit poker, and in limit poker, you get a choice of two bets.
We've all done it.
Yeah, the bet on the flop and pre-flop is the small bet, and the bet on the turn and the river is the big bet. But even the big bet isn't very big or exciting.
Well, let us know how you get on, though. I mean, it's a bit unfortunate you made the mistake when you're first playing with real money, but let us know how your playing days go.
Yeah.
Right,
the other mistake people will make is sitting down in Omaha when they mean to sit down in Hold'em.
Yes,
and there's really nothing
well.
I can do for you there, because you need to study that game before you play it, otherwise you'll just be shark bait.
Right, well, we do have to go to a break. Remember, if you have any questions, do get them into us. The text number is 84222. Do text the word poker and your question to that number. And you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Right, well, we're heading off to a break now. After the break, we'll have Beat the Presenter. Maybe we happen to lose it before we come back.
Well, have you got something to be ashamed of, Michelle?
No. So we'll be watching that after the break. So don't go anywhere, and the Doc and I will return in about 5 or 6 minutes for some exciting poker. Good morning, welcome back to Poker Night Live. It's a Dr. Tom and Night Nurse special. We're doing lots of things to do with poker tonight, as usual. That's playing a game I did earlier, watching games. We've got multi-table tournaments. We will be watching the final table of that a bit later. It is an amateur night, so we're concentrating on how the game is played and what you should and shouldn't be doing when first starting to play poker. Our expert, Dr. Tom, is helping us with that. Thank you very much, Doc. If you have any questions you would like to ask us, you can do that by texting us. The text number is 84222 and do text the word poker and your question to that. Or you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And check us out on the web, www.pokernightlive.co.uk, and there's a great forum up there you can have a chat with everybody. Start some threads of your own. And we've got an email here from Paul. It's quite a nice one actually. He says, a question here for Tom. If he had to play one of the other presenters, who would it be and why?
Are you saying, who do I think is a fish? Because that's what it sounds like.
Basically, yeah.
Well, not Michelle, obviously.
Obviously.
Difficult to read.
Too dangerous, plus we've played before and it didn't turn out well for Dr. Tom.
Too dangerous if I beat her. Who would I play?
And why?
For high stakes?
Who do you most enjoy playing?
Well, the only time I played them all together was in the sit and go that gets televised every now and then, Poker Bowl. Well, I very much enjoy playing Nick because he's a bit tricky.
Could be here a while, folks.
I think I'll probably... OK, well, since we're on a time limit, James Browning, because we have quite similar games, and I'd be quite interested to see how we matched up.
Oh,
I might be
excellent.
forced to play a different game from the game I normally play.
There you go, Paul. I would play Dr. Tom because I've beaten him many times before.
Yeah,
so
you got lucky on one big game. Stop going on about it.
And he actually gets the
Yeah,
hump
let's
and
have a look
doesn't
at your
talk to you
sit
for
and
like a
go,
week.
shall we?
We'll quickly one more email here.
OK.
And this is from Mark. Hello, Mark. Good evening.
Hello, Mark.
And he says, I'm going to start to play live soon, hopefully. Be playing on the internet for about 6 months. I don't know where I should play or where to look and where I should go to play, bearing in mind I've only been playing for 6 months. Any help would be much appreciated.
Yeah, sure, Mark. Go to a website called www.pokerineurope.com, pokerineurope.com, and then go to the card room section of that, and they've got a really comprehensive list of all the British card rooms, not just the ones in casinos, but also private card clubs that have cropped up. Or just ask around, because nowadays people are doing poker comps in their back rooms of their pubs all over the place. So you're probably no more than about 600 yards from a poker game if you live in a city.
Ah, there you go. Right, well, let's go and watch Beat the Presenter.
Yay. You're not going to be a bad loser, are you, Michelle?
No, me, a bad loser.
Okay.
Do you get that impression of Father?
Right.
There I am. Chip nurse. I thought I'd sat down on a quick 1,000 chip one.
Oh, yeah. So it was a slow one, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was 2,000.
So my strategy was wrong because I was thinking I'm on this quick one, and I wasn't.
So you went all in on the first hand?
No. Could have though, look.
You could have, yeah. But you didn't, eh?
Fish to my left.
Got any strategy, chip nurse?
I thought I would have a little bit of a dig quickly, see how that goes for me.
A dig? Talking about getting jiggy with a few pots?
Yeah.
OK.
Might be this one actually.
Hey, hey.
No, it's not this one.
Well, that's quite jiggy. King 8 suited.
Yeah.
Good aggression in the cut-off. Nice play from the night nurse.
I knew if they only had so-so hands, they would all fold. But
Oh.
he called.
He doesn't believe you.
Doesn't believe me.
You're not going to take that line down, are you?
Nope. I knew he had nothing.
So you folded. Nice play. Lovely play. Very nice play.
And he's on the big blind. He's called my raise, but then I don't know. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah, great bet. Fantastic.
Then I've got an ace king, which is always nice because I've just played. You might think, hey, she raised last time.
That's right. Yeah. How much are you going to bet? Oh.
Well, I've been. It was been ace 8. Look at that. Before me, he's putting 80. So I was trying to work out, should I just call here or should I re-raise? So I re-raised. But only by double what he put in. Is that okay?
I'd have called and pretended to be a loose caller, but what
Yeah.
you have done there is you're going to isolate one opponent because it's very cheap for him to call and expensive for everyone else. So if you want to isolate him, then that's the right move to make. Trouble is, in a two-way pot, ace-king can get pushed around, but I'm sure you won't get pushed
The problem
around.
I've got here is he knows I've re-raised him, so he knows I'm not sitting there with those low cards. So he's got to think I've got a high pocket pair or an ace-king or an ace-queen. Now I've put in a bet and he's called, so now I really wasn't sure where I was, and I felt maybe he was slow playing something.
Or had a pocket pair like a pair of eights, then he was a bit worried about you having a big pair.
Yeah, which is why I called this. I didn't want to re-raise him because I was worried about the slow play.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was pretty sure. I thought he's either slow playing me or he doesn't have anything and he hasn't hit. And so I just decided to call. I thought, well, I'm not prepared to put it down because I'm still either sure I'm ahead or he's slow playing a monster.
Yeah.
But it's worth 80, I think. And I had the gut shot, and of course it come.
And an ace or a king might be good. So
Exactly.
you've got lots of outs.
So I called that. I called the 80, but I didn't raise it. I've got ace 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought, now for him to be beating me, it's only a 6. It's only 6 that can be beating me if we're looking at the straight. If he's got a 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's put in 200, but I don't believe he's got the 6. And I actually put him on an ace like me.
So you're going to raise him
So
and
I
push him off a
raised
split
him.
pot? Wow.
Well, my problem was I was still slightly worried about. I thought there's always a possibility he's got a 6, so I'm going to raise him, but I'm not going to make it ridiculous. I'm going to make it 400, which will still make him put it down if he was bluffing at me.
But what's the point in betting him if he's going to put down a bluff? I mean, you need to get a call there.
But if I was ahead, he'd call me. If he hasn't got it, but if he's something like got a high pair, then he'd call the 400.
Sure.
But if
Yeah.
he was bluffing me, he'd put down the 200. So I had both my thoughts covered.
Okay.
Is what my thinking was. Anyway, we both had the ace.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I'd be slightly nervous about a 6 there.
Yeah, I was, but because of all the raising and stuff earlier in the course of the raises, I thought, how likely is he's got a 6?
Well, you raised with king 8.
Yeah, but I was being a bit tricky.
Well, maybe he's been a bit tricky himself.
Maybe he was.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, that's an interesting situation on the river there because, OK, he had the straight, so it made no difference. But if he's going to pay you off with a pair of 8s, then you need to make that value bet or the value raise that you made. But what if you're raising into the...
Well, that's what
The
I was
big
worried
straight.
about, but I thought, but I'm still only looking at 6, and do I really think he's sitting there with a 6 in his hand? I just thought because he had raised me and because he called a raise off previously, he seemed to be getting jiggy with a lot of the betting that had gone on since the beginning, to be sitting there with a 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think you did it right, but it is a difficult situation there, whether to put in a value bet or risk betting into a monster. But yeah, nice bet.
So anyway, we split it, which was annoying. I was hoping I was winning. But look, I'm chip leader, which is good.
Yeah.
It's not good actually, because every time I'm chip leader early on, I always lose.
What do you think that means?
I don't know. I think it means if I get good cards and good situations early on, then my luck then it runs out before the end.
But you don't believe in luck. We don't believe in luck on this programme.
So sometimes when I'm sitting there and I haven't had a hand for the first half hour of a game and I'm dwindling, I think this is good because they're all about to come. How strange how the psyche works.
It's extraordinary how the psyche works. Pack bluffer with a Doyle Brunson, but I think he's going to fold it.
So I think this was $5 sit and go. Pretty sure. Yep.
$5. And Andy with the top pair and a lousy flush draw. And in that sort of situation, you're probably winning one way, but not the other. So you either got the best hand or the best draw, or the only draw, but rarely both.
Nine, 10, I've limped early, which James would tell me off for because he says it's too much to ask to limp when there's so many people behind you yet to act. It's a lot to ask that no one's going to raise.
Yeah, I'd raise you. And cackle while I was
So
doing
I
it.
shouldn't be doing that, should I?
Well, I don't think so, no.
Okay. And do you know what, like I just said, I've already been told off for that once. But I did it anyway.
It was only 20 at the end of the day. And I've got lots of chips there.
It's true, but when you nick the blinds and you think, ha-ha, I've won 30, and you feel great, well, that's only 30, and you are risking stuff to win those blinds.
That's true, Dr. Tom.
So you've got to nick them back later.
Yep.
It's so boring, isn't
But
it?
look, can I say why I called that bet there? Because it was quite a big bet to call.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I called it is because I've got 9, 10, Jack, Queen, so I've got an up and down straight, and I've got a pair, so I've got lots of outs.
Yeah, the
Which is
king's
why I
not a brilliant
called.
out, because ace-10's a worry, but...
So that's why I called. And then I get 2 pair, but I know they only have to have a king, so I thought I'm either representing the king, or they've got a king, so either they'll put it down, or they'll call or re-raise me. If they call, because I've got 2 pair, I do have outs there. I can get a straight or a full house or trips, which wouldn't have worked, which wouldn't have made any difference. But it worked anyway. They didn't have the king. And they put it down, so it was a bit risky.
It was a bit.
That flop.
I mean, if you think the flop is scary enough that no one's going to bet it, then there's a good chance you're going to be ahead on the river anyway with 2 pair. But yeah, I mean, it's a gutsy bet.
They hadn't raised on the turn, so I thought if they had the king, they would have probably.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And the only thing I was worried about was a king or hidden trips. So I thought I'd bet.
So you were representing the king rather than trying to push them off a draw?
Yeah. And if they had a king, then they would have called me or re-raised me. If they just called me, I did have outs to then win.
I mean, I see your logic, but it is a bit funny when you're... Effectively, you say you're bluffing, but you had 2 pair, and that's a slightly funny situation to be in. As I say, I can see your logic, but generally, if you've got a hand, you can't be bluffing.
Yeah.
So, not quite sure where that leaves us. I think I might have been inclined to say, well, look, if they catch a straight on the river, good luck to them, but basically, they're as scared of that flop as me, and I'd probably see the river card for free, and I'll probably still be winning. Mm-hmm. And indeed, I might induce a bluff, possibly on the river, from someone. But yeah, I didn't mind what you did.
If I'm I'm not chip leader, I'm second. Down Matanak, taking it down.
Not much there. Ace-4, ooh, gets a call for fish. And now he's going to have to bet it, because he's got the ace, but he's got to be worried that fish is calling down with ace-10 or ace-jack or something like that. Chip nurse with a monster.
I don't like it.
Is 2005 Chelsea going to steal your thunder, though? Let's have a look. RNC might limp. That would change the dynamic considerably. Puck bluff having to think about it. He's thought a bit too long. In the bin. Yeah, playing for those long implied odds that you're still enjoying here when the blinds are small. Chelsea might think likewise. Yeah, he's also playing them. Chip nurse now getting great implied odds. I probably would just flat call here, actually. Some people would raise as a matter of course with all those limpers. That's what you do, Michelle?
Yep. Absolutely nothing.
Wait.
No intention of playing this. Don't even have any intention of trying to bluff it with that many people in the pot. So I'm just going to check it down. Even though I do have position, they're all showing weakness. I'm still just going to give myself another card and see what happens. Jack, Queen, King, Ace. Now I have a draw. Not a very good one.
No, pile of
That's
pish.
stuff over 10 to 1, isn't it, to hit my draw?
Yeah, rubbish. Rubbish. And one of them's a spade.
So I figure somebody could be on a draw here trying to get a free card, and if I bet they're still going to call to get it.
Yeah, you got too many people to bluff.
Too many people, just check it out. Let them bet, I'm not even bothered.
And a queen or a jack, if it comes, might give you a winner. So it's not as if you have to bluff to win the pot. Well, it's amazing. Look, they've all missed. Pair of sixes, good. Well done.
On the pot for the minimum bet, always nice.
Bet call. If it's a bet, it'll be a call. If it's a call, it'll be a raise. That's what I'm predicting. There's the bet.
Here's the
No,
raise.
re-raise. Yeah. Good decision, sir. Looking to find out where he is. Trouble here, though, is if Chelsea calls, Chips doesn't know if he's up against ace-king or ace-jack. That is the trouble. Unless he knows more about Chelsea than me.
Yeah, it's a difficult decision for Chelsea. You have to check it, but then thinking if he checks, Fish and Chips will probably bet, or to bet himself, and hope the Fish and Chips puts it down.
Yeah, and this is the difficult situation. He's getting lovely odds here, getting 6-1, and I'd be tempted to play. I don't want to play it for all my chips. I might just call. Yeah, I don't mind the fold. I don't like being pushed into passive play there, but I can't countenance a raise in case he's got a pair. And a fold seems a bit tight when I'm getting 6-1, and I've still got plenty of chips if I make the call. I think I make a call, Michelle,
Yeah.
and see what happens, which isn't great poker.
Even though you're
but-
still just looking for an overcard.
Well, I might be ahead. He might shut up. He might say, well, I tried it on the flop, but now I'll check it down to the river.
Well, I've got an ace-jack.
Cool, you're not getting any respect from Fish, are you?
No, none whatsoever.
He's got it in for you,
No, he does, and he gets his wish.
does he? Not on this one.
But I'm like, haha, I have 2 pair.
Is that how you are like?
Yep. So I put in half a pot.
That's a pot.
Oh, sorry, the pot. Made a pot bet
Too stiff for him.
because I didn't want to give him odds for a draw. And that was a little scary. Could have been a straight draw going on.
Yeah, he had the straight draw, in fact. Ace-tastic down in the blinds. Dalmatinet's not played many pots. And if there's a call here, it's just possible he can stomach a raise. But yeah, he's not all that happy about raising Fish with chips. He's coming under the gun, in early position rather. So he might just check it and hope to catch 2 pair or top pair with a 9. Let's see. Ah, aggressive play. And a good size raise because it looks strong and Fishing for Chips can credibly fold there, and I think he picked the right price. Well done.
Mine's have gone up.
So they have.
Fish limping with the rag. Checked by Chelsea. He's raised it.
Saucy.
Which is quite a nice play, really, because if someone's limping, it probably doesn't mean they have a wonderful hand.
Oh, that's right. Oh, nice flop.
It's very interesting because we've got the 2 pair for Chelsea, but the flush draw for Fish. Very small one. Surely has to be worried that Chelsea's holding a higher spade anyway, which for him to call or even raise this for his draw, which he does, is very ballsy because Chelsea could easily be sitting there with a higher spade. Wow. Aces and 7s.
God,
That
brutal.
7 killed Chelsea. Brutal for Chelsea, wonderful for Fish. Not so wonderful for me because Fish is still in. Not that I hold a grudge or anything.
Look, a limp from 9-jack suited. What curious behaviour. I guess he's playing the implied odds. Well, he's been denied them. Let's see what happens. Oh, Dalmatinets gets a call from somewhere he wasn't expecting it, and I'm not expecting it with Jack-8 suited. You could say it's a brilliant read from Chelsea. He knows that Dalmatinets is just punishing the limper, Andy. But, I mean, Chelsea's still not got a calling hand.
No doubt someone's going to try and steal my big blind. Although Fish and Chips is sitting there with the jacks.
Yeah, there goes your blind. Bing. Okay. Ooh, another one of these callers. Do you raise with ace king? I do.
I do, yes.
I thought that was a normal play.
They like getting a bit jiggy with it.
Time to bet. Pot size bet for me because that's draw-tastic, that board. Absolute straight draw. Nightmare, flush draw, nightmare. Definitely a pot size bet. And if I'm raised, I might have to fold because I'm up against either a made hand, which probably isn't king-queen, or a draw.
I'm slightly worried about stealing blinds for this game with fish on my left.
That's interesting you say that, because if you can establish that sort of reputation, it has a kind of long-term effect.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm not quite so sure he's going to put down. He's going to call, at least, and then I'm going to have no idea where I am on the flop, which means he could re-raise me and scare me, and if I haven't hit, can get very... Or I might bet at him, he might re-raise me again, because he's done it on a few occasions. So in my head, stealing is going to be a bit of trouble in this particular tournament, and I hate that. I like to be able to steal if I can.
It's great, isn't it, when people are giving you respect?
Yeah.
It's terrific, but... Yeah, well, that's a candid admission. But yeah, I've been there as well myself, where I think I just don't want to tangle with you. You know it, and I'm sure you're loving it, but I still don't want to tangle with you.
There's the text number, 84222, if you have any questions or queries or comments. Do remember to text the word poker first. And the email, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
The binaries, there they are. Oh, big bet. 5 times the big blind. Fair enough. Why not?
60 torpedoes. Doesn't want any rags coming in with him, then hitting the ace, seeing a scary flop.
Talking of rags, Chelsea's dominating you, Michelle. Ah, what a player. Lays it down, she knows when she's behind.
Oh, yes.
Tempting. Very nice odds.
8, 9, 10, 2 pair, backdoor flush draw.
It's all going off, isn't it?
80's enough.
See, one option is to nick earlier when you're both in early position.
Yeah.
But then that has its own hazards, raising into so many people.
Yep. And somebody could be sitting there with the bullets.
Indeed. Aimed at your chest. That will take it down. That's a loose old limp from Fish. Michelle's not in the pot. You didn't have to call there.
I can't believe he's even thinking about it. Ace 4 is not a very good hand.
It's not, no.
I know my stuff. I've learned. It's only taken a year. God, I can't believe I've been here nearly a year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he hasn't had a bluff for a while. In it goes. And pays off. 3 times the big blind, a fine price to charge for the privilege of defending a big blind. Let's see if Chelsea passes it on. Yeah, tight play for Fish and for chips there. I don't blame him. He could credibly say there, well, I'm almost certainly ahead with the ace-9, but sometimes he'll be a long way behind when Chelsea's got a big pair. And so I don't blame him for folding. You're out kicked by Fish, Michelle.
King 10. Don't want to watch this hand. Because the stupid Fish has King Queen.
I'm looking forward to it already. Oh dear.
I thought I raised it. Oh.
Took a cheap flop. I think he'd have called you anyway, so it makes no difference.
Of course, king and queen rules.
You bet the pot. Fish raises you, I think. Yes, he does.
The annoying thing is because I know what he's been doing, and because he's been doing this a lot, I figured he thought I didn't have anything because I limped. But I thought he'd missed and didn't have anything, but was trying to steal it from me. So I call like an idiot. And this was a big mistake in the game for me, this hand, because I don't even know why I did it, because I never usually played king 10 anyway, so why am I limping with king 10 on the button anyway? In the small blind anyway.
You're in the small blind, I mean, it's a cheap price. You see it, and the thing is though, Michelle, you've not actually done anything terribly wrong, because he did shut up shop on the turn and the river, and I think even if there wasn't the flush there, I mean the flush obviously is a fluke, but to be honest, I think once you call him on the flop, you can expect Fish to stop betting at you.
Fish, a little trickster, he was telling me in the thing, oh, don't know whether to bet, I've got something or other that blatantly he didn't have because he's got a flush. And he's got the nuts flush at that.
Well, he is playing poker, so he's entitled to be a cheeser.
Well, I'm not paying that anyway. I just want him to think that maybe I'm playing, because I still wasn't sure whether he was tricking me or not, so I thought I'll let him think I might re-raise him, and then fold. So that's put me down to 1,765.
Oh well. Oh well. Ace Queen, definitely good for a raise. The blinds are now 40-80, so that was quite a small raise.
3-9, I think I might get rid of that. Puck bluffer with the ace-3, he's on the big blind. Hoping for a little free ride. Fish has made it 80. Nice raise from Puck Bluffer, but it gets called by the Queen 9. Now we can see Puck Bluffer is ahead, but the bet takes it. Very odd call from Fish, I think.
Good old thing with the 6-7.
No, I don't want to get. It's because the blinds have just gone up to 40-80, and 80 seems a rather lot to be playing to play with 6-7. And do you know what? I really noticed this in many people's play, even when I'm at home. When the blinds have just gone up, it's actually a very good time to try and put in a raise and steal. People see it's a lot more than it actually is because the blinds have only just gone up. Especially when they go up to 50 to 100, I find. Everyone suddenly gets very scared of having to put 300 chips in to play. My dad taught me that little trick, and it really works as well. Unless I think they're with a really good hand, they will fold.
Yeah. Has he got any more tricks? We might get him on the show.
Yeah, he did play the other day in the same game as John Clark. It was quite funny. He bubbled it on my account. In fact, he still owes me that money.
Well, maybe RNC in 2005 will get involved here. Let's see if Fish limps with a Jack-9. Two players with 3-5. Please fold your cards.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah, he has limped. And RNC... Well, limping there is playing it for the implied odds, basically. And he folds tonight. I can understand the logic there. 2005 has seen Fish limp before and decides to take action, and now look at this. If Fish decides that 2005's bet here is a bluff representing the ace, yeah, I wasn't at all surprised by that move. He makes a semi-bluff. He knows he's going to get called by an ace, but he's got outs, and some of the time 2005 will not have an ace when he bets there, and he called his flush.
Takes out a player.
Yeah, chipped up. Don't want the big stack to your left, do you?
No, it makes it even worse.
Puck bluffer takes it down.
So I'm not looking so good now. I'm nearly losing. I don't like that very much.
You've got 20 big blinds.
I'm not worried yet.
Yeah, Fishing for Chips got a difficult stack there. He's only got 13 big blinds. Decides to let it go. But really, his 10 is good enough for a bet.
What type of bet?
240 is good for me. Let's have a look. That's the bet.
As he's only left 780, if someone were to re-raise him for his stack, can he still get away from it?
Yeah, he can
or-
fold. He can fold there. He's probably not getting put odds against a raise. Sure, someone might be trying on with Jack King suited, but he can fold. At best, he's not getting great odds if he calls, and he might be a long way behind. Puck having a good think about the 4-3 suited. Not really advisable when your opponent's not got that many chips left to pay you off with if you make your hand. He lets it go.
4-5 for me. Ace Jack for the Dalmatian. Okay, Queen 10 for me, but we've got 9s for a fish. So if he raises it, I can't see anyone else coming along.
No, it's going to take it down. Cool, he's a bit of a draw-up merchant, our puck bluffer, isn't he?
Yes. Listen to Casper about using your time to think.
Well, he's not thinking about poker. He's got no decisions there. He's probably writing a novel in between each hand.
Well, I have a 7-4, which was rubbish.
240, the classic, 3 times the big blind. And as people's chip stacks get smaller relative to the blinds in these sit and goes, there is a real tendency for the raise to gravitate downwards from 4 times the big blind to 3 times the big blind, and then even to 2 times the big blind later on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because the absolute sum of chips it comprises is still growing.
This is unfortunate for... Ooh!
Ooh!
Actually, I put down the ace king. Very odd.
Who's going to net your big blind? RNC?
Yeah, probably.
Let's have a look. They're queuing up to do it. Having said that, now the chips blinds have gone up.
Yay.
It's a bit more serious. You take it down, get a walk.
Get a little walk, which I needed. I'm waiting for a hand now. I want a hand to play with. I don't like the fact that I've only got 1,500 chips when the blind's are 160. I know I'm okay for the moment, but I really do want to play a hand.
Well, I know, but you can't decide what hand are you prepared to play. That's the question.
This is what I'm trying to work out.
What do you think?
Well, I don't think I don't need to. I'm hoping to get a high pair.
Aces? How will that do?
Both aces would do nicely. Or a big ace.
What do you do if you
No,
get...
even something like tens that I'd be quite happy with right now. Just try and get a little bit tricky.
Dalmatinets is crippled, and unfortunately has to move in this hand. In it goes, and it gets called, unsurprisingly, or raised. Fishing for chips, yeah, definitely right there to isolate Dalmatinets. It looks like it might be Curtains for him. Yes, it is. Unlucky. But he played a good aggressive game. Didn't play many pots, but he played the ones he played aggressively. Just unfortunately ran into a hand. The aces are one place off.
I know. And when I saw them, I thought, oh, can I have them next, please?
Is that what you thought?
Yeah.
It's not a very constructive way to expend cognitive effort at a poker table, is it?
Please give me them next.
I mean, as long as at the same time you were doing very clever sort of strategic planning, it's fine.
Of course.
Yeah, of course you were.
Look at this, Fish and Chips trying to get a bet from Bluffer, who is indeed bluffing.
In the bin. No point in taking a view. No point in taking a view. There'd be no shame in folding that 4 if you were losing.
He calls.
No shame at all in folding if you were winning. Oh dear.
Fish and Chips are really getting the most out of his aces here.
And just calls, plays it cautiously, doesn't raise. So you've got 10 big blinds, Michelle. Are there any hands which you'd stick it all in with?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Which ones?
About 10 big blinds I'm quite happy to stick it all in with. With the bigger hands, high pairs and high aces.
So aces you go all in?
If I'm high ones, yeah. But I can go for one more blinds quite comfortably before I panic. And by panic I mean I'm starting to go in with things like pair of 9s, pair of 8s.
So you fold 9s or you play them, but just not for an all-in?
At the moment, my problem is when it's 160, if you're going to make a decent raise and hope people can put it down, you've got to put at least 350, 400 chips in. Now for me that leaves 1,000, so I can do that. If I go through one more blinds, because I can leave myself with 1,000, still have enough to go all in and make something if someone were to call me or re-raise me or whatever. But if I go through one more blinds, I can't do that no more, if you get me. So at the moment I can make a raise with a good hand, whereas once I go through the blind once more, which is what I'm doing now, I can no longer really make a decent raise without committing to the bot, so I might as well just go all in and get the fold equity.
Yeah. That'll be good for a fold. Fisher's, he's got piles.
Yeah, which is a bit of a shame. He's to my left.
Yeah, he's difficult. Very difficult.
Because I know I've got no fold equity with Fish. If he's got half decent hand, he's going to call me.
Well, I mean, you can dent him. So I don't think that's accurate. Actually, he was calling you earlier and looking to outplay you, and frankly, he managed to do that. But here, if you get yourself all in or commit yourself, he's going to make a rational decision. But it's true you don't have much room to outplay him. But
as much as the others, is what I mean.
Yeah, how do you mean?
The other three, RNC, Puck Buffer and Andy and Fish and Chips, if I go all in, it's a big decision for them to call me. Whereas the Fish, it's still not a huge decision because he's got me well and truly covered. Well,
yes and no. I mean, if I'm in this situation there, I don't want to burn off 1,300 chips, so I make a pot odds decision, it's true, whereas the other guys might say, well, the pot odds might be in my favour, but I'd rather keep some fold equity for later. So yeah, you're right. But I don't think he's a punishing player like that. But he's played a good game so far, for sure.
So I just have absolutely nothing. And now it's crunch time for me, going through these blinds again, leaving me with just about 1,000. Just over 1,000. So that means now I'm waiting for the hand to go all in with. I'm now not raising anything. Now that I'm about to go through the blinds again, I'm waiting for a hand to go all in with.
Go on, name the worst hand you'll do it with.
I'll probably even do it with something like a pair of 5s.
What about ace-5?
Luckily, the decision was taken away from me, but if that had come round to me, I would have gone all in there.
Oh, but things you're in the big blind, so you're raising someone who's already decided to call you. It's different from raising the big blind. I mean, I don't think you can raise the ace-5.
Oh yeah, of course I'm on the big blind there,
yeah.
aren't I? Oh, maybe not then, because I'm on the big blind.
Yeah, you just got to
Someone
let it
could,
go.
yeah, someone could steal that from me there. But if I wasn't on the big blind and there'd been no action, I'd go in with the ace 5.
Mm-hmm.
If I was on the dealer button with him, no one had called. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think now the blinds have gone up so that you only had 4 big blinds. It's
See, here I have no choice, I don't think, at all. Especially as it was folded to me. I had to go all in. I've got suited cards, I've got a queen. Chances are he hasn't got anything. And of course he can, you know, he can call me because he can afford to.
And he's also right to call you. He's getting odds here. And he's having a think. I think he's making a genuine thinking. And he's thinking, well, is this a player who would just move on the small blind with something like Queen 5 suited? He decides yes, and you know he's right to call.
I mean, it's a definite fair enough call. It's just unfortunately he got his ace, so I'm still going to get him. See, if only a queen had come, I would have doubled up.
Yeah, but there's no. I mean, I'm sorry to be a bit grown up about it all, Michelle, but saying if only this and
But
that.
can't we just be childish about it just for a little bit
No,
longer?
we can't, because we're ambassadors for poker here. And we don't only teach people how to
Why are
play
you
poker.
showing it again?
Because it's
Move
funny.
on!
In fact, let's have that at the beginning of every show from now on.
So there we have it.
Why are you so depressed then? You didn't play a bad game. You can't win all the time.
Oh, but I want to, Tom.
Wouldn't that get a bit boring?
No, I'd love it.
Wouldn't people think the show was a bit rigged?
I never get bored of winning.
Oh, I don't know.
I like to win. I need to go and play some pool or something now.
Well, you've got a show to do. You can't.
Join a game of Snap in the break.
All right.
You even beat me at Omaha in the break.
It was 7-card stud.
Oh, yeah.
So down to 5. Fish definitely looking like he's got his name stamped on this.
A little game.
Ooh, wow. Puck Bluffers thinks he's still got room for a bit of fancy play there with a minimum raise. But has he got room for a play here? Because if he's raised, he might have to call. I mean, the thing is, he's actually getting odds to call there. So, I don't know about that move. It was very fancy given how few chips he's got, but I can't see how he can get an edge there. And as he's going to fold here, wrongly, I think, because he was getting pot odds, but he put himself into a situation where he had to call with a rubbish hand, which is never good in poker, because then you're forced to make a mistake, really.
Now he's got the aces.
Yeah, but it was
There's
just
a
he
little
had the
reward
chips.
for folding.
It's done the same thing. Now they're all going to fold.
This is hard for Angio, though, isn't it?
Sorry?
Angio, with only 540 left.
Yeah, no,
Is
he's
it
right.
not worth his while sticking it in?
It's a pot odds decision. I think you can let it go.
Even when it only leaves him...
Yeah, he's got no fold equity, but he probably wasn't getting pot odds to go in anyway against the sort of hands Puck Bluffer would move with. I love that move, and the reason is that Fish can have anything, and Puck Bluffer will probably fold and leave behind a massive amount of dead money relative to Andy's stack. I think it's a great move. It looks lame and passive, but it's not. It's a good move. And he's going to get his just desserts, I hope. Well played.
Bye, Angio.
No, he's got it. His
don't
just
get it.
desserts was to win. He played it well. Yeah, he had no fold equity left with 540 chips. So he's trying to put himself into a situation where he could win the maximum if he did get lucky. And that's exactly what he did. He managed to go in there and have Puck Bluffer fold. Wow, all sorts of moves going on here. Ooh. Sizable fold there, ace-6 with 5 players. Yeah, I guess you can make it. You can make it. Dangerous though, because once the button goes past him, he's got not a great deal of fold equity. And it's Puck Bluffer who makes the move, and that should work. I don't think Fish can call here.
He's giving himself a little 100 chips just in case.
And it's interesting there that he does fold the 3s. So I don't think his call against you was just a sort of a vindictive one. He just made a...
No, it was
A
the
good
right move
read.
at the time because he could, one, take out a player. He had live cards.
I don't think that was the reason why it was a good play. Taking out a player when there's still 6 of you is irrelevant. I think he just read you for what you had roughly and said, I'm getting pot odds.
Didn't read me for what I had. I'm a rock. He thought I had big hand.
So he called you.
So he called me wrongly.
And luckily it turned out you had not much.
Queen 5. I mean, he knew I was desperate, so.
You were desperate rock.
Desperate rock. Going in with Queen 5 suited.
And definite move here. There's a good chance to get called by a worse hand, apart from anything else. There it is. Fold and putt bluffer with a difficult decision. It's probably a fold, but there's just a sniff of a chance that 2 players will get knocked out before he gets knocked out himself. Yeah, I guess a fold. If they'd been a bit more connected, the suited cards I'd have called. As it was, against the ace bit there, putt bluffer was looking to be about 44%, so he was certainly getting odds had he but seen his opponent's cards. In it goes, yeah, don't give Fish a chance to make a move. RNC takes it down, and it's starting to even up a little bit with RNC getting, a pot that he likes here. Fold, fold, all in, fold. I beg your pardon, putt bluffer's gone all in here. And he's trying the same old trick of creating dead money. My God, Queen's
put
folded.
it down.
Oh, wow. And there you go. And that is, if anything else, that is proof of the value of that play. Calling with a weakish hand, hoping that the blinds will fold. Because if you can get queens to lay down and leave dead money behind, what a great play it is. And he's still in there.
So Queens are laying down because they think he's worried about the aces and kings being out there.
I think he may have misread Puck's hand, and he said, look, Puck needs a big hand to call it, to call a raise. He's failed to understand the logic that I've been talking about, that Puck bluff just needs the dead money in there. And he's wrongly thought, well, there's a chance here, my queens are behind. I can get out of this one. And it's a serious error to make. Fantastic, very interesting play that. And it was clear who made the right play. It was Puck bluffer.
Do you think he's playing it thinking that, though? Or do you think he just thought king 4, I haven't got any money left, let's hope I hit a flush or a king?
That may be it, yeah. But the fold of the queens was still wrong.
Wrong.
Yeah. It's funny, last night we were talking about king, or last time I was on with you, whether you should lay down kings, and people said, no, of course not, apart from double top. Queens is obviously a quite different hand, but I still feel that's definitely good for all your money. Don't know what you folks think out there. Well, no dead money to be created now. Difficult decision. Yeah, he decides to go for it. Got a bit of work to do. Still got 2 live cards. Well, now he's got the straight draw. It's not a great one, but a club as well. But it doesn't arrive. Puck is out. And I think we're nearly out.
Oh, I see what you did there.
What?
You're nearly out of time for this part of the show. Well,
Let's see how Fishing for Chips gets on. I think he's going to quit the field, isn't he? Or is he going to bluff? Is he going to gamble that Fish has missed? No, lets it go. What?
okay, well, we can watch the end of that when we come back from the break. That's not a problem. We've got some emails to do, but they're all longish, so we'll do those after the break as well. And we'll have the last table of our multi-table tournament as well, which we started to watch earlier, which was always good, remember? If you would like us to read any questions out before the end of the show, it's 84222 on the text, and poker@pokernightlive.co.uk on the email. We are going off to a break now. We've got the poker news, so enjoy that. It's always very funny. Dr. Tom and the Night Nurse will return to your screens after this short interlude. Good evening. morning even, and welcome back to Poker Night Live. My name's Michelle, I'm the night nurse, this is Dr. Tom. Right, okay, we are actually going to head straight back to the end of that tournament we were watching earlier, and then we'll do some emails. So let's head straight back there first off.
Yeah, there's 4 of them left, so it's pretty exciting. And huge blinds now, so the only skill really is to see if you can drag out a bit of fold equity where someone can fold when they really shouldn't, and playing the bubble. So it's a nice, interesting bubble situation here. And fish, yeah, he lets it go, and that's a good fold there. Good fold, and I think he's worked out that Andy doesn't absolutely need to move there, so may well have a decent hand. This is fairly clearly a bet. Let's see, I thought he might put in the small raise there and try and prompt a showdown, but he'd rather take the pot there and then, I think. Perfectly reasonable at the bubble, perfectly reasonable, probably the better play, in fact, than taking it to a showdown. Fish and chips goes all in, of course he does. Next hand is on the big blind anyway. RNC calls, of course he does. He's getting pot odds of 10 zillion to 1.
It's not quite the correct pot odds, Dr. Tom.
Are you questioning my knowledge of odds?
Yes, I am. Told you a million times not to exaggerate.
And he's all right. Double through. And Andy's turn to move effectively all in. In it goes, fold, folds. 6-8, he can let it go.
Mm-hmm.
He can call it as well, yeah, I don't mind a call desperately. But I think I would have preferred a fold, just in case he gets a monster on the next hand. And he hasn't caught, so he's out, and the bubble turned out to be less interesting than I was hoping.
Yeah.
Not that I'm blaming Fish and for Chips for that, but he did spoil it for everyone. Still a queen, good enough. Fish, and a good call there. It's correctly worked out that RNC can move with worse hands than a king 10.
It is 8 though.
Woo. No straight, double through. Happy days, and look at this, 3-way, fairly even.
Huge blinds now.
Huge. So we've got another sort of little bubble situation here, really, because there is a significant difference between second and third.
Yeah. I'm generally just happy to get into the money.
Mm-hmm. Wow, really, really even. And terrible hands all round. And it's going to be a walk, I think. No, great move from Fish. Aggression. Lovely aggression there. He knows he's up against a random hand, and many hands here can't call. Probably 3/4 of the hands, and he could be dealt, can't call there. So that's a great move from Fish. I loved it. I loved it.
Bit scary though. Could have lost nearly all his stack.
Yeah, well, you've got to risk it, haven't you? Tournament poker. And a clear fold for RNC. He's obviously behind. Oh dear, that wasn't the one RNC wanted. 2-6, he folds, Fish folds. Fish and Andy Yo treading water. RNC just slightly starting to bleed now. No, that's never in a million years a call he's contemplating. He's just trying to do a dwell up to discourage Andy Yo from attacking him again. Oof. He might have to move with it. It's horrible. Yeah, I don't mind a fold either, because someone might get knocked out. But I think he's now pretty much lost any fold equity he had by letting the 2 blinds come around. This is what he wanted to see. He wanted to see a confrontation between these 2 players. And he's got it. Fish, I think, got a call there. He's getting 3-1 plus.
Yeah.
Much more than 3-1. It's difficult to see because Andy Yo has overbet the pot.
And the problem with Fish here is he's thinking, if I don't, RNC is going to be on the big blind next.
Yeah.
Gets his 3. Ooh, when the ace comes.
Ooh, reverse. So RNC delightedly folded the 6-9 now, whatever it was.
Fish, yeah, because if it folded, he would know RNC is going to be the big blind next and would end up all in against probably Andy.
Yeah. Well, that's probably good for an all-in. No, he folds. I moved myself, definitely. 6-9 suited. Heads up. Don't mind at all tolerating the risk of being called. Six four is a fold. 2-3 is a fold. It's going RNC's way now. King 7's a move as well.
Oh, now RNC's in the lead. Question for you. Now it's all going to go in.
That's just bad enough for RNC to fold. He's probably
Queen 7 being the average.
a bit sceptical of Ndio's hand there.
Or was it Queen 9?
Now it goes all in. Can't remember. Queen 7, Queen 9, the computer hand, yeah.
A little bit unfortunate here for RNC. Needs a
No.
7. Doesn't come. Although 8, 8, 8, ace, ace with the jack. Oh no, because the king's there. Yeah.
Top banana.
Top bananas. Well done, guys. Oh, I should have been in that top 3, but never mind.
What do you mean you should have been in it?
It's only fair. I'm on the telly. This is my reasoning in my
Of
head.
all the spurious reasons you could have given, that is the most spurious.
Oh look, we've had an influx of emails since Big Brother finished.
Oh, you sound a bit bothered about that too. You've got to hum about everything tonight, haven't you?
Yeah, there's reasons. Okay, email from Snap It. He says, Tom, the reason for my bet on the turn when I had the flush, assuming this is the hand that you were discussing earlier.
Yeah, I was saying it's surprised he folded it.
And the reason for my bet on the turn when I had the flush
Was
was because there were 2 aces on the board. I thought the other player had an ace and he would call or possibly push in because he was low on chips and I could take his stack. I think I made a bad move when I went out with ace 9 by re-raising. Didn't think I was running into ace king. Should have folded to his original raise, really. As you know, not great on these sit and goes, just trying to get some practice. One thing at least, I take my beats like a man and don't whinge like a little girl. Who can we be talking about? Well, Snap It, I am a girl and I'm very competitive. And I like a little whinge on these, makes me feel better.
We're in a position here, we're poker ambassadors, we're trying to encourage people to be, to take it on the chin.
Why don't you all just have a go at me? hey, that'll make it all better.
Seriously, Slap It, if there's 2 aces there, then I think your move's absolutely right, partly because, of course, there is some danger there. And also, if the guy's got an ace, you're certainly going to get paid. He might not pay you if another club comes down. So, love the move. It's amazing how you can miss 2 aces on the board, isn't it? Ace 9, yeah, it's not a great hand, but by the time you found out things were going a bit memories up, then your pot odds are quite long, so I can't really blame you for that move.
Thank you, Ken. We have an email from Sekhmet. He says, hi guys.
Sekhmet.
Thanks for showing the sit and go I won earlier. A couple of things. Firstly, I'm a woman. Go women poker players. Come on, the women. Sekhmet is Egyptian goddess of vengeance. Very appropriate, I think. Yeah, I like it, Sekhmet. Am I thinking there? Because I nearly went with, I can't remember what it was now. It was the Japanese god of luck, Daikuku. So I nearly went with Daikuku when I first started playing. Because Japanese god of luck, but of course the viewers picked Night Nurse, which I love.
So
yeah, it's good.
You're driven by luck, but she's driven by vengeance. Is that the way? Oh, okay, carry on.
I have been playing about 8 months, tried to get to play Michelle tonight, but got pushed out. You need to start clicking from the flop. Tell me, I've told everyone now. But that's what you need to do. I have taped the show to see your comments, but realised I played about 3 dodgy hands tonight, especially the re-raise. Reason was that I felt Morrison had been raising a lot, especially on the small blind, to gain pot. Once we were down to 5 players, which was quite early on, the table got quite tight, but the blinds were going up pretty quickly, so I thought he might have folded when I re-raised. I got lucky on a few hands I know, but really enjoyed the game. Still have a lot to learn. Earlier on in the multi-table tournament, I had ace-king unsuited, re-raised someone, ended up all in, he had ace-king unsuited, and pulled a flush. Oh, I think I was right in what I did, even though ace-king is still a problem hand, but had to make a move, finished 55th. Love what you're doing. Michelle, you're such a brilliant girl. Keep taking those players down. Oh, loving you. Dr. Tom, rather play your style than Mark or Nick's, but everyone has good points to make. Keep up the good work. Get lucky tonight, and I love it when I'm lucky.
Well, I'm with you there, Sekhmet. I'm getting a little girly league together, hopefully, with the likes of Mrs. Fast Bandit and Snakey and yourself, and maybe Mrs. Vova. And once there's enough of us, we're going to take on the men. I think that'd be good.
Okey
Battle of
dokey.
the Sexes on Poker Night Live. It'd be brilliant.
Right, we'll get Snap in.
Take you down.
Okay.
Yeah, you can pick the male players and I'll pick the female
Well, we'll
players.
pick teams, be like being back at school.
Yeah.
Great.
That's going to be really good. We should do that.
Thanks, Sekhmet.
So what do you think of the email then, yeah?
Yeah, I think she played quite an interesting game, actually. Yeah, I like the game.
Well, thank you very much for your email. We've got one here from John Boy Rebel.
Ah.
Hello, John Boy. He says, Dr. Tom, just wondering, do you get much abuse in internet chat boxes on tables? As you've probably seen now, I'm very much an action player and love playing trash hands for the fact that when they hit, I know I will get paid in a big way. I go for implied odds rather than actual odds. Many people take exception to this, and thus I end up getting loads of abuse and called all sorts of names, normally after cleaning people out. What I try to explain to people is that they want me calling them and that they should chill out, but they remain very upset. I find it frustrating that people have to resort to chat abuse online. They would not dream of acting like that in a casino. Do you think poker rooms should be stricter on the chat policies? Laters, JBR. Very interesting.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, sometimes I turn the chat box off, sometimes I leave it on just because, something interesting or useful might come up. I've got a sort of filter in front of my eyes that just filters out all the rubbish people talk and the sort of shouts and screams and tantrums. And I suggest you have one yourself. It doesn't really matter if people are giving abuse in the chat box because, let's face it just makes them look stupid.
I think it's hilarious. I love the banter. I generally come in
banter's good,
when they start having a go at each other. I usually come in now, children, ladies at the table, and that usually works.
I
They
might try
usually
that.
just then have a go at me, but. And before we go to our MTT, quick one from email from Paul. Good morning to you, Paul. I am a low stakes $2 and $5 sit and go player and have turned $2.50 into $100 in the last month. Wow, that's brilliant. However, I am a horrible cash game player, and although I've had some bad beats in cash games, I can't help thinking that my approach must be wrong. For instance, if you have a $100 bankroll and you blow your chips in a $5 tourney, you get another 20 shots at the title. But if you called all in for $25 in a cash game, a quarter of your bankroll has been sapped. Can you give me a few tips on things I would do in tourneys that I shouldn't do in cash games and vice versa? Also, what were the odds of me losing this morning when I went all in with two pair, 7 and 10? And the guy I lost my $25 to called with jacks and paired the board to beat me. You sound quite similar to me. I mean, I play in the $10 sit and goes, not the $5, but I play in the $25 buy-ins. And I found that too when I went out yesterday with my full house to the other full house. $25 gone just like that, and that's two games, two tournaments, and it does make you think, after saying, I could have played two tournaments and made lots more money.
Jacks against two pairs, he's going to win a reasonable amount of the time. All he needs is to catch a jack or for the board to pair, so it's not a massive outdraw. It will happen quite often. A few points to make here. Your variance will be greater in the cash games than the sit and goes. Tournaments generally have higher variance than cash games, but in the case of sit and goes, because the variance is very much bounded, because 3 of the 10 places get paid, or 3 of the 8 if you're playing on a P&L table, then there's not that much variance. So your horrible cash game play may in fact just be poor variance. However, it may also be poor play. A few things spring to mind. First of all, if you're sitting down with 25 with a quarter of your $100 there, $25, and you're just sitting in too big a cash game, if you tend to play $2 and $5 sit and goes, I think you should be sitting down in the cash game with at max $10. That's the maximum buy-in. So play a 5-cent, 10-cent cash game. That would be about the right sort of size compared to what you're playing at the sit and go level. Differences between cash games and sit and goes, well, basically the main difference really is that the number of chips you have relative to the blinds means that you have more decisions for longer. You've still got decisions on the turn, you've still got decisions on the river. And if you don't like making those sorts of decisions, for example, you don't like folding on the turn, worrying that you're being pushed around by a bluff, then that can be a source of loss in cash games. You can make mistakes there for want of discipline. In a sit and go, often your chips are all in before you have to face that sort of disciplined fold that you might need to make. So you may just be a genuinely worse cash game player, but I would move down the stakes and try it again, partly because the players will be worse down at the 5-cent, 10-cent level, and also because it's more appropriate to sort of bankroll you're playing with.
Excellent. Well, we're going to head to our MTD. Just quickly before we do, Puck has emailed in saying, great show, lad and lassie. Note to Dr. Tom. Was involved in 3 sit and goes, wasn't always looking at the table. It's the price you pay to play with the chip nurse. I won 1, third next, out after nursing in this one, but only because no one called my aces. Tom, your next mate, I'm gunning for you now.
I'm scared.
That's it. Puck's after you. You better run and hide. MTT time. Let's have a look at that final table.
Well, look, Ramship, he won the free roll the other night, so he's had a good run, yeah.
It's jolly for him.
But the other players, we've got Big Tom Fuller, but I don't think I recognise the other 3.
My dad came 11th in a MTT from about 400 people the other day. It's so annoying because you only get about $20 or $30 for 11th.
Well, it's his fault for sitting down in such a rubbish MTT. He should have sat down for $500 minimum, and then he'd have won a fortune.
Well, okay, this was our multi-table tournament. We were on it at the beginning of the night. There was 110 entrants, got 6 left. It was a $10 buy-in, freeze out. First place, you're looking at 330. 6th place, you're looking at 71.
Bit of a difference then.
Yeah, a lot to be played for here.
And squinting over your shoulder, it looks like the big jump is from 3rd to 2nd.
137 to 220.
Yeah, 4th to 3rd is 104 to 137, jump of 33, and then 3rd to 2nd is a big old jump there of, what is it, 93? So, yeah, that's the place, that's the bubble, the next bubble, when there's 3 of them left.
Well, Ramship and Claire Stud are short stacks. And
Yep.
the Unto top there is our big stack.
Funny name, isn't it?
Yeah, Unto.
Ace 10 suited, good enough for a little rosette there. Oh, it's quite a big one, 4.5 times the big blind. Wow. And tricky this. He calls without too much thinking, but it looks a better ace. Or a big pair. Jacks, queens, kings, aces. I might have contemplated a fold there, but he may know more about Claire Stud than me. He was getting about 3 to 1, so reasons to call, but the play looks so strong from Claire Stud. 2 possibilities. One is that Unto thinks that Claire Stud is a loose-ish player, and the other is that Unto thinks that Claire Stud thinks that he's a loose player, which means that she can raise him with a hand like Ace 10, which of course he would want to call against. Or indeed a pair of 8s or something like that. Top pair now for the raiser. And just a gut shot for a Big Tom. He's betting the gut shots. And I'm sure Razor won't lay down, just decides to flat call. Now what do you do there? You're out of position. And it looks like he's checking, possibly hoping or intending to call a bet. And he bets for value. Yeah, he was confident all the way he was ahead. That's what we know from that bet for value on the end. That's not a bluff, it's too small for a bluff. He's betting, hoping to be called. And the reason why it's too small for a bluff is that any hand that would fold for that price, he was beaten with a king high.
Pair of 7s.
How's them for apples?
Would you like an apple?
I'm alright, thanks. Doing a bit of poker commentary.
Would be a bit difficult. Well, he's got his ace, nasty flop for the 7s. Has to be worried. 2 overcards. The raiser, I'm sure, will bet, and Super Light can't call.
Ten.
Binaries, which Dr. Tom actually worked out, was 10.
Did I?
Yeah, don't you remember? It was all very clever. You worked out what 10 was in binary, and it was 10.
I hope I'm right. If that's wrong, email the show. Because
Email
I
us.
can't be bothered to work it out again, but I think it was 10.
Yeah, you did work it out. It was all very interesting.
You see, people already think I'm a bit autistic.
You're very clever.
Ah, thank you. But some people just think I'm a bit autistic and actually think in binary. Not just numbers, but life too. Binaries goes all in. That will take it down.
It was you that named the tens, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't me.
Oh, was it not?
Danger, but it's all okay. Claire Stud is off ski.
Well, 6th place takes away $71.
Dollars.
Dollars. It's getting late.
Big Tom, the suited ace, and 20 big blinds. Why not put in 3,600? If you put in 3,600, it could well be a much, much bigger hand, and I think you'll get respect. That's what I'm going to do there. And he thinks likewise. And the pleasing, warm, comforting feeling of having nicked some blinds. Lovely. Personally, if I can win as many blinds as I'm having to pay, I'm perfectly happy. And if I can win more than that, I'm thrilled. But I am really only trying to tread water with my steals, really. In a tournament, I'm expecting to make most of my money in actual contests, not from steals. But that's just the way I play. Some players, very aggressive players, make most of their money from steals, and then every now and then get in a really good outdraw or a lucky flop when a steal goes wrong. Also a perfectly legitimate way to play. Going to have a bit of a pot here, I think. Don't think ace-king will lay down. Don't think eights can afford to bet small.
Well, the eights are slightly ahead, are they not?
They are.
But the eights won't be completely happy with seeing the ace-king if they end up all in.
And I think now he can lay down.
Yeah?
It might be a pair of sevens, a pair of sixes, but it's possible. Oh, he's called. Well, he's ahead, but...
Ooh, when he
it's
gets
now.
lucky, lucky, lucky.
Lucky.
Nice for Big Tom Fowler. Goes to show, doesn't it? Because Anto had the chip lead. Now Big Tom Fowler has it.
Well, I think the move of the ace-king was perfectly reasonable there, really. Ace-king's a big hand in this five-handed comp. Big Tom could have had a wide range of hands, and Anto...
This is unfortunate for Anto. Very unfortunate. He's chip leader a couple of minutes
He's
ago,
gone.
hasn't he? Well, he goes with $88. But I do feel a little sorry for him. Could he have got away from any of that?
No, the ace-king is right to move. King-queen, how much did he have? 1,200?
12,000.
12,000, I mean. I didn't see the betting, to be honest.
He just went all in and got called by the queens.
10 big blinds. I might have just put in a 3 times a big blind.
Yeah.
Well, maybe 2.5 is the price I'm going to find there. If I put in 2.5 times big blind, it's true I'm more likely to get a call, but I don't desperately mind a call if I've got king-queen.
And then you know where you are if you get bet out on the flop.
Yeah, if I catch a king or a queen, I'm happy.
If you don't, you can get away from it.
Yeah.
Although there he probably would have been re-raised anyway, wouldn't he, pre-flop?
So the Razor changing his game and now playing a more of a calling game, and this often happens also. Immediately when some people get knocked out, chips get concentrated into people's stacks, and suddenly calling becomes a more attractive option than raising. We drop briefly out of that fold or raise kind of strategy in a tournament when the chips are all rather thinly distributed.
Nines. Doesn't have to do anything.
Ramchip being quite quiet for a while now. I think he's winding himself up to a nick of some sort.
Cool with the 9-10, do you like that?
I don't mind it. Depends on Big Tom. If he's not going to just attack me regardless of what he's got, I don't mind a call at all.
And then he gets rid of it. Well, there's still play here for all these players, isn't there, at 1200?
Yeah, plenty of play.
No one in dire straits. Do you play many MTTs?
Yeah, not that many.
Do you have a strategy
probably
when
play
you
one
play?
week. No,
You just sit down and
play great poker.
play great poker. Does that work for you?
Well, that's the strategy. Doesn't always work out like that.
I haven't played you at poker for a while. You'll have to let me know when you're playing something and I'll come and play.
Okay.
Learn from the master.
I don't play anything like I say you should play, Michelle. I'm a right nutter. I'm always on tilt. I love rag aces.
You secretly made up Mark Bannon.
Yes, he's my creation.
Sixes make a move. Big Tom Fowler calls.
Yeah, he must really not fancy raise his hand to call there.
Razor makes a bet. Well done.
And that's a good bet, because if Razor had checked there, I'm certain Big Tom Fowler would have bet. But Razor took the initiative away for Big Tom, and it's all very well calling pre-flop, thinking, well, I'll outplay the guy on the flop, but if he then bets straight into you on the flop, then the pot's getting a bit big to be making moves.
Four players left. Who will it be? Lots of money to be had here. Big difference. Been playing all night. They've come from 110 players. Free roll for Razor. Will Razor get jiggy with the 2-8?
And Ramchip, you can sense, has just been waiting for some time for a hand now, and he just hasn't picked one up.
No. King 4's not going to be good enough for him, especially as Big Tom Fowler's going to try and steal those blinds with his Ace-6.
3 times the big blind does the trick.
It's all very exciting. Who's it going to be? Who have you got your money on?
Razor.
Yeah?
That's a pretty random choice, really, but I think Razor.
Well, I'm going to pick... Well, it's going to have to be Big Tom Fowler.
Okay, your man's got position on me. Oh,
He's got
same
chip
thing
lead
again.
at the moment, but it could all change.
Look, that's the second time we've seen Big Tom make a pretty speculative call against a small blind raise, and it's going to be the second time that he's had to fold, admittedly a worse hand than what Razor had, on the flop, and I think he's got to stop doing that. He's got to just either raise pre-flop or fold, unless he's got a better hand than what he's calling with, because he's doing quite a lot of chips that way. And Razor clearly is quite happy to carry on betting into Big Tom, so the calls that Big Tom is making pre-flop don't encourage Razor to fold. Ramchip's found the hand in that's a frustration, Michelle, because that's a terrible, terrible move.
From Ram?
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's good this time, just about, but... Ooh, Ace-5.
It is pretty rubbish.
He's ploughed in 21,000 to win about 5. It's just more risk than he needs to entertain.
I think it's probably because he's had nothing for so long. He saw an ace and got a bit excited.
But look at how it looks to your opponents. You haven't called for ages. Your opponents know you're getting frustrated. They know that's not the time to move against you with a marginal hand. So they're going to be more than happy to bet at you with a big hand there. Sure, some of the time Big Tom will have something like Queen Jack, but it's just not big enough, Michelle.
No. What was he thinking?
I think he was just frustrated. And I'd rather do it really with Queen 10, where I'm more likely to have live cards.
By live card, you mean something that can hit us straight?
Well, I mean cards that my opponent hasn't got. If he's got Ace 10 and I've got Ace 5, only my 5 is live. Well, he got a walk though. Well, that's always nice. It's not the first one he's had. Fold, fold. Wow. Again, I think it's more risk, much more risk than he needs to. Razor's not going to put down Ace King. He's not going to put down Jacks, Queens, Kings, Aces. Well, it worked. He pushed his opponent off an equivalent hand. Maybe I'm a bit tight tonight, Michelle.
You are actually talking very tight tonight.
Am I?
Yeah, I think so. More so than usual, because there's been times where you've said, yeah, push it in, and tonight, no, they're not allowed.
I'm in tight mode. I didn't realise it.
Complete tight mode.
Wow, I do
A lot of
apologise.
hands. No, that's fine.
Tonight wasn't meant to be tight Poker Night Live, but it's turned out to be.
There's a couple of hands I've thought, oh, that's a bit unfair, isn't it? Surely you should have been able to move all in there.
Okay, I'm going to loosen up.
No, we like the proper Dr. Tom strategy.
I'm going to loosen up all in one go.
Go on then. A6 all in?
Of course, they should all be all in on this one. Okay, fair enough. I've been too tight, you're right. Ace 10 four-handed. I think it was the size of the raise. I don't mind him thinking there's a good chance his hand's ahead. But to put in a raise that's 10 times your opponent's bet seems a bit big. I'm back in tight mode again already. Oh, he's done it again. Oh, it's worked again. But it's only a matter of time before Ram Chip runs into Big Tom and Big Tom calls him. And that's, you see, that's a nick. That's the funny thing about Ram Chip is he's happy to put in steel re-raises, but he's not willing to put in the initial raise himself. He's going into pots where people have already shown strength, which is a bit quixotic.
You would have had the 10 as well. This is a question I wanted to ask you, Tom. You know when you play on the internet, you know how the random card generator works?
No, I don't, but...
Do you not? Well, because I was talking to my dad about this, and he was like, because when you say if you're sitting there with a hand with Jack 10 and then Jack 10 comes up on the flop, and I would have had that. Would you actually have had that? Does the random card, is it like a continuous flick of the cards and whatever hundredth of a second, is it different depending on the cards? Let's say these cards are spinning round and round and it's just random. That way, if you take 2 seconds to make your decision instead of 1 second, the cards will be different.
As far as I know, that's the case, yeah. That first of all, the random number generator is dependent on the time, the clock in the process. And secondly, when they deal out the whole cards, they haven't yet actually dealt out the remainder of the deck. It's yet to be determined.
So if you were deciding to call a hand, you would probably take a different amount of time than when you fold it. Therefore, when your hand comes on the flop, you can think, well, I'm gutted, obviously, but if I had have called it, them cards probably wouldn't have come out because they would be a different time.
Exactly.
See, this has helped me.
However...
That's what my dad told me.
Even if you're in a real casino and the deck has been shuffled and what's going to come is definitely going to come however long you take, you still don't know what's in there, so what's the point in beating yourself up if you didn't call with your deuce 6?
Yeah, but it does help sometimes when you flop the full house. You think, oh, well, I wouldn't have flopped it anyway if I'd played. It would be different. Helps. It helps. It's psyche, Tom. It's all about psyche. This Ram Chip's gone all in. Top pair.
Yep. Well done. Now, because the blinds are 800, 1600, he's still only got pretty much 20 big blinds, and he's still the short stack. How much is fourth and how much is third?
Fourth is 104 and third is 137.
Yeah, not a great difference then.
No.
I might have to have a little nick there myself. 4,500.
Oh dear. Can Superlight put it down? Surely got to put Ramchip on a bigger ace. Okay, he did it.
He's got to put it down because he knows he can't be far ahead. But, ugh, don't like the move. Ramchip seems to be scared to leave himself decisions on the flop. Oh dear.
And again.
Well, this is just bonkers.
See, really? You can't allow him that at all?
No, it's just daft.
Yeah.
If it's the first time he'd done it, maybe, but he's doing it again and again. He's going to get looked up, and he's going to get looked up by a better hand. And of course, when you play like this, sometimes you win.
Yeah.
But there are better ways to play.
Okay.
The only reason why that would be the best way to play is if you literally haven't got a clue what you're doing.
Well, we have got an email from Ramchip which will.
I think if you've got no idea what you're doing, that's probably the best way to play, because your opponents can't get an edge on you. But we'll assume Ramchip can play poker, just don't know why he's playing like this.
I have a very interesting email from him which will tell you why, but I'm not going to read it out until afterwards because it says where he comes.
Is he smashed?
No.
Oh.
But it is interesting. It will answer your question.
Oh, okay. Well, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Is it because there's two aces on the board and I haven't spotted it?
No.
Okay. Big Tom moving with the threes. Oh, we're going to get action here. Jack King's a raise. Oh, and the raiser surely goes all in. Yes, he does, and that is justified with the ace king. Massive hand at this stage in the tournament. And
Horrible for Superlight.
Oh, I think he could have folded there.
Oh, it's the Jack, and Razor goes out fourth. Your man.
My man is bitten the dust, but the moral victory is surely his, Michelle. Didn't see the odd Superlight was getting, but I think he could have folded.
Well, $104 Mr. the Razor leaves with. A little bit of an unfortunate outdraw there. 3 left. Now there's a big jump here because third is 137 and second is 220. First being 330. So lots to play for here. No one wants to go out third here. It's a big difference. And they're all, well, I was about to say they're even, but they're not really. Superlight's well in the lead. Ramchip's still lagging behind. King 8 hits his 8. It's been checked. He puts in a sneaky little bet, which is enough.
He's had quite a few of these raggy aces on the button, Big Tom, but he does tend to get re-raised now from Ramchip, probably not with 8-3.
7-9 suited, Superlight? No. Oh, this game certainly still could be anybody's.
Yep.
My man's still there, Big Tom Fuller. I only picked him because he was chip leader. He picked the loser. Shows how much you know.
Well, at least I'm not mercenary.
Ooh, free ride for Superlight. Nice for Ramchip. All in or just a re-raise?
No, don't do it. The thing is that that's wrong for a different reason. That's wrong because you can put in a bet here and get action from a worse hand. But you force your opponents to make the right decision. Now we get action. Depends how much Super Light bets. Oh, that's big enough for you to put Queen Jack down, and he does so.
Poor old Ram Chip's getting hammering from you tonight, Doc.
Yeah, well, it's a bit bizarre what he's doing. Big Tom Fuller's taking up the mantle. The thing, if you just play the ace queen there for a standard raise, if your opponent comes over the top and you decide to call and take it to a showdown and you're ahead, you're at least as well off as you were if you went all in and he calls you and you take it to a showdown and you're ahead. So you don't gain anything. But by putting in a raise there, certainly when you're in position, you have the opportunity to outplay him on the flop in some way, either because you've both connected and you get his chips, or because you've both missed and you're behind, but you bluff him. But you're taking away decisions from it. And the blinds are not so big here as a fraction of these players' stacks that the overriding wish is to take it down without seeing a flop.
Two pair, good enough for Ram there. Queen 9.
That's more like it. Straight back in your face. No,
Okay, here's the hand. Ram Chip talks about this hand.
How do you know?
Let me see the email.
Ah, right. Ah, interesting. And
Oh, unlucky for Big Tom.
I think it's a good fold then.
So Ram Chip leaves us third with $137. Shall I read the email while we're watching the heads up? He says, at the bubble stage of the multi-table tournament, I was in last position and decided the only way to reach the final table with my low stack was to take a very aggressive approach. I managed to reach the final table but was very short-stacked and adopted an all-in approach simply to stop the big stacks catching cards. I know this is a very risky approach, but as I was 8th of 8 on the final table, I had nothing to lose. I think, though, that once I was down to the final 3, I should have changed my approach, and doing so may well have escaped the King, Jack, King, King hand, which knocked me out. Oh well, at least I finished 3rd and keep my good run of final table finishes intact. P.S. Has Dr. Tom got over the wine free roll yet that I won and took the cash in preference to the wine?
I just saw that I didn't win it myself. I wouldn't have come into Poker Night Live for a month. Well, we'll talk about that when this one's finished, because it's quite an interesting point. Some quite interesting points he makes. So. But I like the fold from Big Tom Fuller there with the Ace Queen. Similar in a way to your situation, Michelle, with the Kings. You know, Ace Queen not as strong, but 2 reasons. One is that Ace Queen, of course, is significantly worse than Kings, and there's a chance he's behind there. But the other one is that there's such a big prize money difference between 3rd and 2nd that there's a good logic to folding there, and the main reason is that Super Light was a caller, and when you get an all-in and the big stack is the caller, then you've got good reason to think that the big stack is going to win, because generally in these tournaments the caller is the one with the better hand. You don't need much to bet here, but you do need a hand to call there, and that's why Big Tom Fuller could have reasonably well predicted that Super Light was probably going to win that matchup and knock out Ram Chip and put him into 2nd place, which was a big jump in the prize money, and that's why I like the fold in that situation.
Well, 5's made a move, been called. Oof.
Oof, indeed. And this is by far and away the most aggressive heads up and final table I've seen for a while. It's been bonkers, Michelle. Normally it's very touchy-feely.
Yeah, very much so.
And heads up can be very back and forth fencing. But these boys don't like to make standard bets.
Ace 4, good enough for a raise, Fuller? Or not? Oof, not very nice hands there. Ace-9. It's going to raise. King-3 will probably put it down.
Ace-9 is good. Not much here.
So, just while we're watching the end of this, what did you think of old Ramchip there then, Doc, from his email? Do you think that's fair enough, what he said about taking the aggressive approach?
No, I don't. Being aggressive is good, but being aggressive is betting. It doesn't mean putting in massively inflated bets. A couple of points I think where he was a bit misguided. One is he said he had nothing left to lose because he was there at the final table. Well, that's completely untrue, because once you're at the final table, then you've still got money to win. And if you forfeit winning the money at the higher prizes, then that's what you lose. And one of the ironies of tournaments poker is that even if you come second and win $1 million, when you get knocked out second, you've got the worst possible result you could have had at that point. So the only person who's ever really happy in a tournament immediately after they've played it is the guy who comes first. So that's a really muddied way to think about poker. And if you think about poker as, well, I'm up, so it really doesn't matter what happens, that's a disaster. Not least because you've thrown away money that you could have won, but also because over the next 3 weeks you might just lose. That's the nature of variance. Now, if you've taken a constructive view earlier on and won as much as you possibly could when things were going well, you might find you're still a winner when you get the downside of your variance. But if you haven't, if you've been content to take a small prize when you could have taken a bigger one, then you become a loser when the variance comes and bites you on the bum. And the other thing I didn't like much was the fact that he was a short stack, and he said he didn't want the big blinds, he didn't want the other stacks calling him and then catching cards. But the truth is that by going all in like that, what happens is they call you when they don't need to catch cards. If you're ever putting yourself in a situation where they need to catch cards to beat you, you're playing good poker because you've gone in with the best of it. But he put himself in a situation where they were going to call him with better hands. So, and the prime thing about his situation there was he had 15, 20 big blinds most of the time. And of all things in poker, the most important one is the distance between the blinds and your stack size. It doesn't matter if you're the short stack, that much. It doesn't matter what your stack was now, what it's going to be, all that much. All these things are less relevant than that crucial factor, the size of your stack relative to the blinds. And when you're up there with 15, 20 big blinds, that's no way to play.
Ramchip, you have been told by the doctor of poker, which is Mr. Sandbrook.
And I still think you should have taken the wine.
How does the Ace-King play this? 7.
Might get a call here.
Ooh,
bad timing.
Okay, and this is it, unless the heart comes. It doesn't.
You picked a winner.
Super light, when it goes with $220, and Big Tom Faller with $330.
Well played, Big Tom.
Good game, guys.
Great fold, the Ace Queen.
We've got an email from Little Acorn. He says, "Hi, I hear folk talking about..." Oh, no, we're out. We're out of time, that's it. From Dr. Tom in the Night Nurse, I'm afraid we are out of time. It's good night and goodbye.